So happy to be here with you today. Thank you for waiting for us. And my interest in welcoming this meeting today is of a long time that has been developed. It's over 12 years of a long dispute in making sure that oral health is also part of the sustainability agenda. Today we are pleased to have everyone enjoying and participating in a number of very interesting presentations here. I would like to invite briefly Dr. Julian Fisher for a welcome word before we start listening to our first presenter.
Thank you very much, Claudio. Can you hear me well?
Very good.
So a big welcome to this extension of the conference. I've just come from the morning session, if you like, in this.
It seems that you have an issue with connection.
Yeah, I cannot hear as well.
Well, technology is great until it's not. So let us hold a little bit longer for listening to Julian's welcome words. And please let me welcome Dr. Rina Aliyeva from the Azerbaijan Stomatological Association. It is with great pleasure and pride that we receive Dr. Aliyeva in this forum. And by starting this and congratulating Dr. Aliyeva on a fantastic program that has just been delivered together with the Pennsylvania University. So please, Dr. Aliyeva, feel free to start your comments and your presentation.
Dear participants of the conference, dear guests and colleagues, salam from Baku. I would like to express my gratitude to all the conference organizers, honorary speakers, and all participants for their desire to work together for the benefit of future generations. See you in Brasilia next year. Thank you. Special thanks for Julian Fisher.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aliyeva, for your kind and warm words. I'm sure that the work that is being developed in all parts of the world, also from your side, is contributing to improve this discussion and making sure that we live on towards the world we really want. And with this, and noticing that Julian has yet not been able to reconnect, I would like to ask William to put up the video presentation of Dr. Silvio Sequeto, President of the Brazilian Association of Dentists. President Sequeto is currently out of the country in a journey, so he was unable to participate at this particular moment. So, but he has been kind enough to record a video for us, and we are looking forward to listen to his words.
Prezados debatedores e participantes, é prazer contribuir para o evento e prezados debatedores e participantes, é prazer contribuir para o evento e compartilhar pouco da experiência da ABCD com o desenvolvimento sustentável da odontologia brasileira. Hoje, vamos falar sobre a posição da Associação Brasileira de Cirurgiões Dentistas e seu compromisso com
Okay,
a adoção dos
presentation is,
Objetivos de
happening over the
Desenvolvimento
YouTube channel.
Sustentável,
You are welcome
os
to follow that
ODS, dentro das
as it
práticas da
develops.
odontologia associativa e brasileira. A associação acredita que a implementação desses objetivos é essencial para promover uma odontologia mais sustentável e para fortalecer a prevenção em saúde bucal na população. Os Objetivos de Desenvolvimento Sustentável da ONU visam transformar o mundo até 2030, abordando questões como saúde, educação, igualdade e preservação ambiental. Na odontologia, essa visão se traduz na integração de práticas que beneficiem tanto os pacientes quanto o meio ambiente. A Associação Brasileira de Cirurgiões Dentistas acredita que o setor odontológico pode contribuir de forma expressiva para esses objetivos, desde a redução de impactos ambientais até o incentivo a práticas em saúde bucal. A adoção dos Objetivos de Desenvolvimento Sustentável da Agenda 2030 da ONU na odontologia se destaca especialmente em 3 áreas: saúde e bem-estar, educação de qualidade e consumo e produção responsáveis. Esses objetivos servem como uma base para que a odontologia associativa brasileira amplie seu compromisso com a sociedade e o meio ambiente. Para a ABCD, cada profissional de saúde bucal desempenha um papel fundamental na promoção desses valores. A associação defende o uso de práticas sustentáveis dentro dos consultórios odontológicos, que vão desde o uso consciente de recursos como água e energia, até o gerenciamento adequado de resíduos gerados nos atendimentos. Essas práticas refletem o compromisso com o ODS 12, que trata de consumo e produção responsáveis. Cada ação conta para a construção de um futuro mais sustentável e seguro para todos. A ABCD prioriza o ODS 3, que é a garantia de saúde e bem-estar para todos. Isso inclui a promoção da saúde bucal preventiva como uma estratégia fundamental. A prevenção em saúde bucal não apenas melhora a qualidade de vida dos pacientes, mas também reduz a necessidade de tratamentos invasivos e o uso de recursos. Essa abordagem preventiva reflete o compromisso da associação com a saúde e a sustentabilidade. A educação é outra área-chave. A ODS 4, que trata da educação de qualidade, é uma prioridade da associação, que promove campanhas de conscientização em comunidades, escolas e empresas. O objetivo é alcançar a população com informações sobre a importância da saúde bucal e o impacto positivo de atitudes sustentáveis. Ao educar a sociedade, a associação contribui para formar cidadãos mais conscientes sobre o papel da saúde bucal na saúde geral. Os cirurgiões dentistas têm um papel crucial no cumprimento desses objetivos. A associação os incentiva a adotar práticas que respeitem o meio ambiente e promovam a saúde preventiva. Isso inclui o uso de materiais menos agressivos, técnicas que geram menos resíduos, e a orientação de pacientes sobre práticas de higiene bucal que contribuem para a sustentabilidade. Além disso, a Associação Brasileira de Cirurgiões Dentistas acredita na força das parcerias. Colaborar com outras entidades, empresas e instituições de ensino permite a criação de objetivos que impactam positivamente a sociedade. Essas parcerias, alinhadas ao ODS, ampliam o alcance das ações da associação, levando a conscientização sobre a sustentabilidade e a prevenção em saúde bucal a diferentes comunidades e setores. O compromisso com os ODS também envolve preparar a próxima geração de profissionais. A associação acredita que os futuros cirurgiões dentistas devem estar capacitados para incorporar a sustentabilidade e a prevenção em suas práticas. Isso implica em atuações constantes na educação e nas práticas associativas, garantindo que a odontologia brasileira avance em sintonia com as demandas globais por saúde e sustentabilidade. A Associação Brasileira de Cirurgiões Dentistas convida a todos, profissionais, parceiros e a sociedade, a se engajarem na adoção dos Objetivos de Desenvolvimento Sustentável dentro da odontologia. Juntos, podemos construir uma prática odontológica mais responsável e valorize a saúde, o bem-estar e a sustentabilidade. Para mais informações sobre as ações da associação e como participar desta iniciativa pioneira, visite nosso site ou entre em contato conosco. Vamos juntos fazer a diferença na saúde e no futuro do nosso planeta. Obrigado.
Muito obrigado pela participação do Dr. Silvio. Silvio, thank you very much for these comments and important remarks that you have given us, and how committed ABCD is today. And might I add, leading this process in Brazil. All the way since 2014, ABCD has been engaged in developing the agenda for sustainable overall health in Brazil, even by giving the floor during the CIOSP, the large Brazilian Congress, to promote the issue of sustainable oral health, sustainable dental practices, and making sure that there is an agenda to discuss on this matter. But we would like to move on, and it is very important that all different types of voices are heard and considered in this journey. And it is with great pleasure that we welcome Dr. Regiane Marton from the Brazilian Association of Medical Devices to take the floor and put on the view, the message, and most importantly, the strategy for developing into a more sustainable world. Thank you, Dr. Regiane Marton.
Thank you, Claudio. Thanks for the invitation, and thank you for the opportunity to talk about in name of Fabino. Can you see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yes, it's coming up. Yes.
Yeah, it's in presentation mode.
Not yet.
Okay. Let's do the different again. And now?
Now it's on.
Okay, so let's go. So we are ABIMO, the main representative entity of the Brazilian medical devices industry. And I will talk what ABIMO has as initiative for the ESG, that are the way for the companies to evaluate and improve their sustainability and ethical impact. So ESG stands for environment, social, and governance, and the three areas are considered by ABIMO as supporter of the company's ESG performance. Yeah. So ABIMO and ESG responsibility. ESG initiatives also contribute to broader business sustainability efforts that aim to position companies for long-term success based on responsible corporate management and business strategies, and a contribution for a community development. The three key factors behind the ESG, environment, social, and governance, are focus of ABIMO as an important association supporting the Brazilian industry. So why ABIMO and ESG? So ABIMO support the member to explore ESG terminology, concept, and also fundamentals and 40 steps for a sustainable business. The opportunity to discuss concept, benefits, examples, and trends. It's extremely relevant topic, especially as investors, consumers, and the governments become more aware and demanding of a business practices. ABIMO also support the cases studies of success in different ESG topics and the importance of sustainability for longevity, internalization, and the industry responsibility to the society. Environment, social, and governance factors are important for the business because they help companies in the business language. So ABIMO is able, it's always, we need to talk the right language to the right and focus public target personas, and with the industry we are able to identify and talk about identify and risk management, improve sustainability, attract investors, build a positive reputation, comply with regulations, and reduce costs, foster innovation as well. ABIMO, in a practical way, ABIMO held a webinar just right now in October 1st to discuss ESG concepts and matrices for its members. The focus of this webinar will show the importance of the topic, understand the maturity level of members in a sustainable development matrix, environment, social, and governance. As you know, we have more than 300 members as associated. A little bit more, 30% of them are members of oral care. And we presented a successful cases in areas of waste management and reverse logistics, and a sustainable matrix made up of 4 pillars. And this is an opportunity to carry out a practice exercise applying the concepts learned to their own organization structures, and to understand how they are interconnected and must be achieved by 2030, as it set out in the 2030 agenda. So the ABIMO has the crucial role, together with the industry, to support them to be ethical and responsible with this concept. So the role of the association is always to support the growth of the members, but in a sustainable and a responsible way for the society as well, right? So this is the main topic I have regarding to the ESG concept for the industry associations. And I would like to know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Reggiani. That's a very interesting presentation. There are a lot of interesting points of data there, and it really opens up the vision of how much and how many different areas can really be attacked on in order to bring this into life. I would like, however, to ask for questions at the end so that we can listen to other speakers as well. There will be a Q&A opportunity right just after a few moments. Okay, so please, for the audience, take notes. We will be very happy to entertain your questions in a few moments. But saying so, I would like also to move on to our next speaker in order to present a very important area of Brazilian dentistry and organized sector of clinical service. Dr. Murilo Macedo, representing here the service of the social service of commerce, SESC, and its engagement in oral health practices and the actions on SDG aspects. Please, Dr. Murilo, welcome to this session. The floor is yours. Please be kind enough to present your work. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Claudio, Professor Claudio. Hello, everyone. Greetings in everyone, especially to Professor Rina, Professor Claudio, and Professor Fischer. Congratulating them on the organization and the conduct of this very important event. My name is Murilo Macedo. I'm a dentist and a health specialist at the Social Service of Commerce in Rio de Janeiro, called the SESC Rio de Janeiro. I'm grateful and honored to be here on Global Oral Health and Climate Action, representing the health management of SESC RJ. We are more than 2,000 people working hard, 2,000 employees working hard to do the same things we have done since in the Africa 75,000 years ago. Share our social intelligence to solve problems. That's why we're here. I will share my presentation. Just a minute, please. I'm not the KC, but please don't go. Wait a minute. Two, speed. Let's come back. Can't you see my presentation? Okay. Thank you for your patience. There is a great debate among science researchers and society about the changes we will be subject to soon, in the very near future. The speed of climate and technological and longevity health, from now on. The speed, climate of technological and longevity health changes are already impact social foundations and how we relate to the world. It's necessary to act as soon as possible because if longevity allows us for a healthy life for approximately 120 years, we will need to make it sustainable as well. As a non-profit organization, SESC is dedicated to well-being and quality of life of the community through the following social programs: assistance, culture. Let me see, my presentation don't pass. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. In SESC, we have 4 programs: assistance, culture, education, and health. Health has 3 main activities in the program: expanded healthcare, health education, and oral health. I can't you see my presentation?
Not anymore.
Okay. And now?
Yes, it's up.
Yes. Okay, in 2024, more than 1.7 million healthcare services were provided, with themes centering on self-care and co-care, teaching and encouraging well-being and quality of life practice. Dentistry was performed in more than 125,000 services, with almost 25,000 fully subsidized by SASC-RJ. SASC-RJ opens the windows. The awakening is up to the individual. Okay. An activity of the assistance program develops environmentally responsible actions that lead to SASC-RJ become a member of the United Nations Global Compact in 2023 to support and encourage companies and other stakeholders in implementing sustainability initiatives. Sustainability is present in all these 4 programs through the ESG committee, and it's a central part of the strategic plan for the next 5 years. The integration of environment culture into our practice, such as prioritizing environmentally friendly products and services in our acquisition process, conducting activities that link health education to self-care, co-care, and environmental care, reaching communities, schools, businesses, and social media platforms. We are eliminating the use of unsafe materials in the process of phasing down mercury and already phasing out of radiological chemicals. Investing in digital technologies allowed for environmentally favorable procedures. The transitions of digital health include the use of digital dental radiology, digital mammography machines, auto scanners, Miley machines, 3D printers, and more recently, a tomograph. From a sustainability perspective, is investing in a digital technology allowed lower consumption of material, energy, and water, and in consequence, less generation and lower CO2 emissions, elimination of environmentally unsafe products, technological components are easier to recycle. But that is all, investing in innovative technology, of course not. We are sure that investing in modern technology is important, but will only be complete with ESG culture. At the same time, SASC Health Education identified 4 major problems related to knowledges. Okay, they are lack of knowledge. This is not a negligence, but acting in complete ignorance. This is not negligence. Superficial knowledge. This is a type of knowledge is usually sufficient for casual conversation, but inadequate for specialized or solving problems, complex problems. False knowledge, the worst. Complete wrong knowledge, such as fake news. And health education identifies in community acrasia. It's a Greek word that means acting in opposite to what you do is right. Or, as the Greek philosopher said, acting in opposition to your best judgment. Not clear? Let's give an example of acrasia. When you start an appointment and turn on the suction system and don't turn it off until the end, and one day you listen that this system uses almost 200 liters of water per hour, I ask, would you continue using it? Maybe not, until page 2, until tomorrow, or in the next 3 days. At least, after this period, you start using this type of system again. This is acrasia. But why does acrasia happen? Because our brain, okay, our brain is not so good to see a big picture. It sees the tree, but can't see the forest. An example, your brain is extremely impacted when a plane crash occurs anywhere in the world. But it's not the same when you are informed that in 2022, 8.1 million people died due to air pollution because of burning fuels. I can explain better. Has anyone ever had the feeling of just arriving at their own office and not remembered anything about the path? Maybe everyone. This is occurs because of the frequency that you take this path. And I will tell you more. Along the way, many situations occur that you don't remember either. And this is natural and are called micro behaviors or a sequence of micro behaviors. They are unconscious or semi-conscious, and we can't remember anything because they are under the conscious line and are called by habits. So habits are automated and unconscious micro behaviors, impossible to relate. That's why you turn on the suction system even though you shouldn't do it. Two other behaviors related to a crisis are beliefs and procrastination. Like, I believe all this talk about climate change is nonsense, or I don't believe that the third burning fuel from my car makes a difference to the world. These are beliefs based on wrong knowledge. Procrastination, well, I will tell you next week. I'm joking. Procrastinating is when you unnecessarily undertake something like, I will start the environment culture in my office next year. Some habits are called health habits, and some others are called unhealthy habits for you and for the planet. This is your choice. But how to change habits? One of the ways to break unhealthy habits is called the ABCDE2. It's an acronym. A, activation. Every habit has some things that activate your behavior. Find it. Find the trigger. B, believe. Challenge your own beliefs. C, consequences. Recognize the consequence of each micro behavior. D, dispute. Confront your beliefs. E, effects. Include new beliefs, new knowledge, and new actions. This way, your brain starts to develop new connections. New connections means new knowledge, but you need to have focus, consistency, and discipline to build new healthy habits for the planet and for you. Pay attention to me now. Almost always, good habits don't bring us immediate pleasure. They are called delayed rewards. And again, you must have focus, discipline, and consistency. It's not about motivation, okay? Not using mercury in your own dental office will not make you an environmentalist. Working for a company that offers digital technology will not make you an environmentalist. It's not about knowing what to do, but who you should become. You must confront your unhealthy microbehaviors, question your beliefs, and eliminate procrastination. And so I ask my estimated colleagues to join us in this crucial effort to eliminate environmentally unsafe materials and practices, invest in research and development of sustainable dental materials and technologies to focus in personal protective equipment, integrate health education and environmental health into curriculum content and continuing education programs, promote collaboration between sectors to expand our positive impact on climate action, encourage companies to provide employees with time and resources to be dedicated to creating creative and environmentally friendly solutions. We need to significantly improve distribution logistics, decentralizing production, reducing distance, and optimizing product storage. In conclusion, we do not inherit the earth from our parents. We borrow it from our children. Every sustainable action is an investment in our health, our longevity, and our legacy. And now we can watch a minute video about SESC activities.
A saúde está presente no SESC desde a sua criação. Ao longo dos anos, A estrutura da saúde no SESC-RJ foi se aperfeiçoando para melhor atender aos comerciários e toda a população do estado. Hoje, a área se divide em 4 frentes de atuação: cuidados terapêuticos, serviços de saúde, exames preventivos, manutenção e qualidade de vida. Odontologia. A odontologia fixa do SESC, oferecida nas unidades, contempla serviços de atenção básica, especialidades de endodontia, periodontia, prótese e cirurgia. A odontologia móvel é oferecida no Odonto SESC, que leva a saúde bucal gratuita para as comunidades mais vulneráveis do estado. Nutrição. Restaurante SESC, bistrôs e lanchonetes com alimentação afetuosa e saudável. Educação em saúde. Presente em todos os serviços da saúde, visando a autonomia e melhores escolhas para a longevidade saudável. O bem-estar e a qualidade de vida são responsabilidades individuais que devem ser priorizadas. O SESC-RJ é um aliado nessa busca.
So thank you, everyone. SESC Rio de Janeiro Health Program shortens the path to longevity and to a culture of environmental care. Come experience in SESC. I am in disposal. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Murillo. Very exciting news to see how the practice that is performed every day in such a huge institution for clinical service that covers the entire the entire geography of Brazil is being performed. It is very exciting to see how is the vision of SESC and how much space there is still for us to develop and to move on. At this point, I believe it will be interesting to listen to some questions and put some possibilities for discussion particularly among the presenters that have already talked today. I would like to start by giving one food for thought for all the speakers here, and perhaps listen from you. How do you see these coming forward? We understand that sustainability and sustainable practices are still being learned within the health sector. But particularly in the oral health sector, it seems that there is an institutional role to be played by the major stakeholders from academy, from industry, from associative bodies, and particularly for those who are influencing public policies. So my question is, and it is to be shared by all of you, which one, let's say, if you had to single out one action in your particular area, which action do you think it's most important to be performed in the next 5 years? What kind of change you would like to see happening within your sector of activity? And if I may start even to our representative here of the associative world, Dr. Alieva, but I think that she has just dropped out, or Dr. Alieva is still with us? Oh. Well, technology again has pulling our legs. So let's hear, please.
She's here.
Yeah, she was here just a few seconds ago. But perhaps she will return on her connection, and we can hold for that. So can we listen from the representative of the industry association, Dr. Regeni? How do you feel about that particular main aspect that you would like to see change in the next 5 years within the industry sector?
I think the industry sector has a very important role in this area, because the technology and the all industry production needed to follow rules and topics that goes direction to the sustainability. And not only in the production itself, but also in packaging, also in how to handle all production, how to connect with the population, how to connect to the dental professionals in a way that all stakeholders are thinking in the same direction, to have a more sustainable and eco-friendly world. And also how all companies, independent of the size of the company, starts in their business thinking about social, environment, and governance to help this sustainability role that each one has in the society. So it's not only about the industry itself, but the production that industry make that goes to the professional, that goes to the population, and the way how each one player in this channel see themselves in a sustainable path in the goals of this World Health Organization goals.
No, thank you for that reply. It really gives us some more aspects to consider. Can I see that Dr. Alieva is back online? Dr. Alieva, would you like to comment on, from the associative dentistry point of view, what type of main change would you like to see in the next few years in order to implement a path of the sustainable oral health?
Please report.
Yes, would you like to comment on that? Okay. Okay, we can move then and listen to the comments of the SESC, that is representing here a large stakeholder on clinical services.
Mrs. Claudio, I still think that health education is too important for this kind of problem. In SESC, we meet some people that in complete ignorance with this kind of this theme, and we are still encouraging and learning and teaching to the community that it's important to they absorb this knowledges. It's our preoccupation, and I think that ESG culture in the institutions and non-profit institutions is very important. And you know, we are just stop to walking in the institution, and so I think it's very important to promote this kind of meeting, and again, the education and more education.
Yes, I totally agree with that perspective as well. We need to be firm on our basis, and the educational basis is definitely the one that is going to be able to change next generations, not only from a professional point of view, but particularly from the consumer's point of view. If we cannot touch strong enough and have a popular social pressure built from the consumer side, very difficult to achieve a real sustainable stage on our perspectives. But then I think in order to keep time, I see that Julian is back with us. He's been able to solve some connection issues. Julian, we are about to close this first session of our Brazilian part. Would you like to comment or to contribute with any other thought at this point?
Yeah, certainly, Claudio, and I apologize. We had a technical problem just as I joined you, but good to be here. And this morning, the session that is the accompanying session to this program, we had presentations from the Ministry of Health. We've, as I said, the World Health Organization, FDI, the international, or the group, the Global Dentistry Group, and also the International Association for Dental Research. And what came out was that the sustainability agenda is really now going to be part and parcel of practice and education. And we had a session on education where universities around the world are now starting to reorientate their curriculum to look at sustainability. So I think this meeting certainly is going to start catalyzing this change where I think rather than sustainability being something that's an add-on, as came through on the education session, it will be embedded, it will be integrated into curricula. So I think that is a key message that came out of this morning. We had an industry session, again, where industry, we're almost backing that up and saying, we're moving in the same direction, we're moving to sustainability. And one of the interesting things that came out of the industry session was it was the first time that WHO has asked industry to be involved. And there was this idea of looking along the preventative value chain. We've talked about prevention, we talk a lot about sustainability, and we need to move to action. And one of the suggestions is that we now start really plotting with the key stakeholders like the World Dental Federation and WHO, or how are we going to turn this into reality so that we get governments involved on board as well. So Claudio, I think it's a tipping point, not necessarily because the dental oral health group has suddenly decided. I think there are external geopolitical factors and climate factors are pushing everyone now for change. So I think this is something new. This is something that, was really coming out in the meeting, how dental education are looking at sustainable development, how, students are calling for change. So I think we're being squeezed along with everyone else to look at transformation and look at change. What that looks like, this is what these meetings will enable us to do. What does it all look like? How are we all going to start working together? So thank you very much for the opportunity there, Claudio, and I hand back to you.
Well, thank you so much. We had a very lively and content-rich first session in our part of the presenting the fourth or introducing the fourth Global Oral Health and Climate Action Conference, and looking forward to seeing you all of here for 2025 in Brazil for COP30. So we actually move on to within our program. We will start now session 8, which has a particular topic on strengthening actions for oral and planetary health. We will be joining some stakeholders that will describe experiences and knowledge on aspects related to science, technology, and innovation, and how much of that role is expected and it's important for the change we want to see in order of this journey for sustainability to be fulfilled. And in that regard, I actually asked Julian to conduct and to set the scene of what we are going to be witnessing in the next 1.5 hours, more or less. Julian, back to you.
Thank you very much. And perhaps I should formally introduce myself. My name is Julian Fisher. I'm Director of Oral and Planetary Health Policies at the University of Pennsylvania, embedded in the Center for Integrated Global Oral Health. So one of my key roles is not necessarily just working in dentistry, but working outside dentistry and health, and looking at a more transdisciplinary approach. And this work started probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it was taken up by the US National Academies of Medicine, who for the first time said, we really need to have more understanding, a greater understanding of oral health. And so they set up a working group to look at oral health. And the outcome was an article that described, if you like, sustainable oral health. What would this mean? Exactly as we've just been saying, what will the new model of dentistry look like? And we had both people from the oral health world, but also outside, as well as politicians, as well as people from the military. So it was really a collective exercise to come up with this idea of sustainable oral health. And there are two elements, and we were discussing, Dr. Michael Glick was talking about how we use words, and this is very important because if we look at sustainability, sustainable development, they are two quite different things. People use them interchangeably, but they're very different. And again, in oral, when you just look at the WHO health plan, okay, Claudia. And one of the key elements that came out of the WHO resolution and what the FDI work was there are actually three domains of health. We should look at the disease, the physiology, and also the psychosocial. And so when we look at care, that's really very much focused on the disease domain. Is that physiology and the psychosocial should also be elements in our description. So it came up with this concept of oral health.
Julian, I'm sorry, but we seem to be having
suffering
difficulties to listen to you. I mean, your connection is breaking up very, very intensely. Can we?
Okay, I've moved location. We've got a problem here with, I think generally, I've moved location, and I think just generally in the town, we've got something going wrong with the internet because it seems to be very unstable wherever I am. I will continue, and then maybe I will set the scene for the presentation. Yeah. So we've came up with the idea and concept of sustainable oral health. It's got two wings, really. One is very much the environmental sustainability, what we do with our waste, but also what we do with the resources, how much resources we use to do our practice. And the other thing is looking at oral health being very much focused, as the WHO and FDI resolutions say, on the health of the patient. So the session that we've got today really kind of builds out on that. We've got this biological aspect of dentistry, which is going to be a key pillar of the sustainable oral health, because it also links into the social determinants of health. So if you like, the planetary systems, the health of the earth systems relating to the biology, if you like, of our environment, and then obviously relating to the oral biology. And I know Professor Schnur will be talking about how that idea of biological identity in their work. We then do the newer innovation as we dental amalgam drops off the pan. The use of water and the critical use of water around waste management. And then Dr. Seeberger will talk about water in the general practice and its relation to health. Claudio, I know my connection is not stable, so perhaps I could hand back to you and to Professor Schnur as well.
Well, thank you very much for setting the scene, Julian. Indeed, we experienced some breakage, but I believe your content in general came through, and we are indeed looking forward for these brilliant speakers and presentations that are coming forward from the next point. So in that regard, so I believe we can start then with the first presentation, and that will be with what do we have here? Just a minute. Is it? Yes, of course, Dr. Etienne Schnur. She's a professor of the Institute of Health here at Nova Friburgo at the Fluminense Federal University, but also working with several international other institutions, and a major leading scientist on biological aspects. And she'll be speaking on examining complex patient care through the biological lenses. So, Dr. Schnur, please, the floor is yours. Welcome to this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you all. That's an enormous pleasure for me to be here. And I know you, Julian, you were amazing. The section this morning was really exciting. And I am also very happy to be joining friends for such a long time. Thank you very much. That's really a kind invitation from you all, and especially from you, Julian. Can you see my screen and hear me well? Yes?
Yes, loud and clear. Thank you.
So let's go ahead and start, because talking about complex patient care through the biological lens, we need to start talking about chronic inflammation management and healthy aging. And in this context, we all know the causes of chronic diseases, including infections, physical inactivity, obesity, dysbiosis, isolation, disturbed sleep, use of antibiotics, everything leading to chronic inflammation, and the consequences, we know, systemic diseases, well-known diabetes, cardiovascular diseases, cancer, depression, autoimmune diseases, neurodegenerative diseases, including immune aging. And we investigated whether oral infections could also lead to systemic diseases. And this recent publication from our group, all patients underwent a surgery treatment called all-in-one, where all the infection focus are replaced by ceramic implants at once. And the patients were followed for 1 year at least after implant loading and receiving the definitive restorations. We also evaluated the balance of autonomic nervous systems before and after surgery by checking heart frequency, activation of sympathetic nervous system, activation of parasympathetic nervous system. And what we could notice is after surgery, there was an increase on parasympathetic activity, the blue bar, while a reduction on the sympathetic activity, the red bar, consistently. So all patients experienced this increase on parasympathetic activity, which is related to a better capacity of our body to heal. We also investigated if inflammatory biomarkers were impacting the health of these patients before and after surgery. And for this, we examined the classical cytokines, inflammatory cytokines. And in this scenario, we realized that all cytokines reduced after surgery with significant results to interleukin-1 beta, CRP, protein, reactive protein C, and interleukin-10, interleukin 10, and we decided then to ask a question if the presence of titanium implants associated with peri-implantitis, mucositis, the presence of root-treated teeth with periapical lesions, ill-fitting metal crowns, and compromised teeth were correlated with the high levels of CRP and interleukin-1 beta before surgery. Linear regression showed us that there was a correlation for the high levels of CRP and interleukin-1 beta with the ill-fitting metal crowns before surgery, so was with the high levels of CRP and the presence of root channel treated teeth with periapical lesions. We next evaluated also healthy aging parameters such as telomere length and mitochondrial function. And we noticed for both of those, there was an increase on the activity of those two parameters. And we asked then a question, linear regression told us that the placement of ceramic implants could be correlated with a better performance of mitochondria after the surgery. So this is an example of a patient receiving the all-in-one treatment where all the infections as well as the disability is addressed by immediate placement of ceramic implants. And this patient also received immediately after surgery a provisional to get back into the function. You see immediately after surgery a better improvement on the phenotype of this patient, and that resembles the activity of parasympathetic nervous system, as well as 6 months after, when this patient come back to receive the definitive restorations, you see a completely different environment, healthy, oral and systemically conditions to receive then the definitive restoration, putting this patient back to social life and to a functional life. Another example, this young patient came to us in 2019. He has a trauma and took 2 years to receive a titanium implant and was using a mobile provisional that was destroying his life when he was 12. And we checked the CBTC, and what we could see is that this implant was has never healed. We thought an enormous infection around this implant, even with a connection with the nasal fossa. You see the infection, and you can, by yourself, imagine the impact into the health of this young patient with this infection around 2 years. So the approach that we are talking about is removing this infection focus. You see how loose the implant was, full of peri-implantitis. Use biomaterials, operate in a sustainable way, use biomaterials and blood concentrates to help the patients to heal and give back this patient static and function right after the surgery. This is how he was before. This is right after the implant placement and the implant imposition. The patient is back to their activity. And what is the discussion here? So what we realize is that it's not about reconstructing tissues. It's about regenerating the tissues in a functional and static way to bring back the patient to the daily activity as quickly as possible. And while we once focused it on osseointegration, we now realize that the soft tissue around the implant is the key factor for long-term outcomes. You have to have a healthy and stable soft tissue around this implant. By using ceramic implants, because of the biocompatibility of zirconia and low plaque adherence, you have a very early epithelium seal around this implant, which itself fasten the osseointegration of the endocyous part of the implant. Then you have crestal bone stability and management of the soft tissue. So what I'm talking about here is addressing oral focus, giving the patient a sustainable surgery with minimal invasive approach, preserving as much as you can the alveoli. Use, for instance, drills that are not leading to metal particles around the tissue, operating in a very preservative way, using systems that resemble the natural anatomy of a teeth, and help you to support this crestal bone and give you the chance to immediately operate and immediately put this patient back to function. This is, for instance, a surgery where we, in 2 hours, restore the situation, remove the infection focus. 1 day after, and you see 2 days after the surgery, and in 3 days after the surgery, you can even see the seal of this soft tissue and putting the patient back into a healthy condition. So with my brief talk, I think my most important take-home message is that if you want to address complicated case and care of those kind of patients, you have to have a sustainable oral care treatment. And whenever you do that, you are at the same time managing healthy aging in a way that oral infections and systemic diseases are linked. And managing oral inflammation, for instance, using an approach like the all-in-one, patients also improve their aging outcomes. And the placement of ceramic implants, immediate placement of ceramic implants, enable a quick return to daily activities and social life. And in complex patients, oral infections are crucial factors and must be addressed. Thank you very much for your attention, and I'm open for any question later.
Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you so much. Very exciting. Gillian, your connection is better. Would you like to? You're muted.
Yes, it's trying to create, if you like, that connection. As Etienne was saying, the biology is crucial because that provides the sort of the bigger connections, and then making sure that when we do these assessments, as she's been highlighting, that we take in the entire patient. So that's what Michael Glick was talking about this morning. We need to think of whole health. So it's not integrated, it's looking at a whole health and the patient in that respect. So all those decision-making processes that Etienne was describing all fit in with this movement towards sustainability, the instruments, the types of processes. So a really good example of, if you like, what this idea of sustainable oral health will look like in, albeit a very specific area of implantology. But again, it just reinforces that. The next speaker is Geneva and Ivo. So we're looking at then the new materials. Again, it comes back to this shift away from perhaps traditional ways of doing things. As Etienne was saying, we need to think of biology, and now we're looking at new materials. And if amalgam is going to be phased out and banned, particularly in Europe, you know, what is the other side of the fence looking? And as I said, when the connection wasn't quite so secure, what we're trying to do is map out that that new pathway that we need to take. There are forces pushing us down that pathway, and this is why these meetings are absolutely critical now, because this information needs to be transferred to general practitioners, and really that's what the leadership of WHO, FDI, IODR, and industry, we're all saying today. This needs to be a collective exercise. So, Professor, if you would like to tell us how you see that pathway, how you see that transition, and what materials are available to us.
Thank you very much, Julian. Can you hear me? Is it okay with my microphone? Okay. Thanks a lot. I'm very happy to be part of the group. It's really a pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to give you some ideas how we see the situation, especially with replacement of amalgam and amalgam alternatives, because this is finally the topic of my lecture for the next around 10 minutes. I'll try to share my screen. I hope that I can do so. I think it is this one. Most probably you can see my screen, is that correct?
Yes, it's up.
Is it okay, like this?
Mm.
So let me present myself very briefly. So my name is Ivo Krejci. I'm the past president of the University Clinics of Dental Medicine. I was also the director of the Department of Preventive Dental Medicine and Primary Dental Care and chairman of the Division of Cardiology and Odontology. And my expertise is especially restorative dentistry and caries prevention. I have around more than 300 publications in the field with a citation index of 51, so I have a certain idea about what I'm talking about. Now, maybe something which might be interesting in the context of amalgam alternatives, amalgam substitutes, ban of amalgams, is the fact that we stopped teaching amalgam restorations at the University of Geneva already when I arrived to the university in 1998. So it has been more than 26 years from now when amalgam is no more taught to students at the University of Geneva. And the connection between the title about post-Minamata dentistry and dental amalgam is, of course, very simple because, as you well know, the topic of the Minamata Convention is to reduce and to control the use of mercury, and finally maybe to eliminate it completely from the environment. And of course, everybody knows that dental amalgam contains large amounts of mercury. So this is the link between Minamata Convention and dental amalgam I'll be talking about. And the situation about the control of mercury in the dental field is, let's say, becoming more and more drastic or important, because based on the Minamata Convention, the European Union decided on an amalgam ban, which will come into action in a couple of weeks on the 1st of January 2025. And you can imagine that this created a little bit of confusion and even of a kind of a worldwide panic between the different dental associations, because the dental associations almost worldwide always were telling to the public and also to the patients that amalgam is a durable, safe, and effective cavity filling option, especially in the field of the so-called social dentistry. And if I may even cite a citation from the British Dental Association in the right lower corner, they even say that without decisive action, this could be the straw that breaks the national health system dentistry. So a lot of confusion, a lot of panic, and especially the question arose of what now? So if amalgam will be banned, what should we do? How should we react? My reaction is very simple. My reaction is, let us celebrate. Finally, amalgam is over. And I'll try to give you some arguments why I'm convinced that finally it is a very nice decision and that it is very positive for dentistry that amalgam will not be used anymore. Because if you look at the target patients who mainly are restored with amalgam restorations, then you will realize that the majority of these patients is located in developing countries. If you compare it, for example, to the US, this is what is stated in this publication. It has been estimated that amalgam comprises only about 10% of direct restoration. So finally, it means that poor people and poor countries get amalgams, and rich people, rich countries, and of course dentists also get adhesive composites and ceramics. So amalgam ban from the social point of view finally can be equal to the end of social inequality in the field of restorative dentistry, because finally poor people and poor countries will not get amalgam restorations anymore. And for me, this is really a very, very good message. Why? Because finally, amalgam is not that durable, that good, and that perfect as it is usually stated in these official statements. If you look at the material, it is not adhesive, so it has no bond to the tooth structure. It does not stick to the tooth structure, meaning that it weakens the tooth. And because it is not adhesive, it has to be macromechanically anchored inside of the tooth, so it needs extensive preparation of sound tooth structure for this macromechanical retention. And besides that, amalgam exhibits the so-called macroscopic expansion, so it becomes bigger and bigger. It increases in volume during the years in the cavity, which leads to pressure, inside pressure, to the cavity walls, and finally induces cracks in the teeth, and these cracks may lead to fractures, as can be seen on the right-hand side of my slide. And if we discuss longevity and durability of these amalgam restorations, longevity immensely depends on handling of the material, so whether it is perfectly handled or no. Meaning that under university conditions, of course, the longevity of amalgam restorations is not that bad. But in a private office, under time pressure and in routine conditions, finally, the longevity is extremely limited. As an example, I can give you this wonderful study, which was done by one of the most respected professors in dentistry, Ivan Muir, in the 90s. And he stated that finally, in a private office, the median longevity of amalgam restorations is only 4.7 years. And the main reason for failures of these restorations is secondary caries. So amalgam is far of being a really good restorative option, a really good restorative material. And the problem of the limited longevity in a private office and the fact that it may lead to fractures or to cracks inside of the teeth finally contributes to the dental countdown of a tooth. The dental countdown leads to replacement of restorations by progressively larger and thus more expensive restorations. And it is finally this dental countdown, which is the reason for the exorbitantly exploding cost in dental medicine. And I was very happy that you already mentioned the fact that modern dental medicine has to be sustainable. If you see this behavior of amalgam restorations, finally, it is absolutely clear that amalgam restorations are not sustainable because on the long term, they lead to the extraction of the tooth and absolutely not to the conservation of the tooth. So amalgam is not sustainable. Now, what could be amalgam alternatives? Let me give you some ideas on that. Finally, the best alternative for an amalgam restoration is prevention. But unfortunately, caries prevention is far from being perfect. Just to give you an example, in today's days, fluoride and oral hygiene can only contribute to about 30% of reduction of prevalence of caries, not more than that. So prevention is something which is very, very positive for the population, but prevention will never eliminate completely caries lesions. So we will have to deal with caries lesions even in the future. But there is a very, very important difference between initial caries lesions, so fresh, new caries lesions, and already existing lesions, either in these where already large caries lesions are present, which were not restored, or secondary caries and amalgam restorations. By talking about the treatment of initial caries lesions, I would like to refer to the presentation of Professor Tasseri earlier in this meeting, because these initial caries lesions should be spotted at a very, very early stage, and then they can be handled either by regeneration, enamel caries regeneration, or by so-called adhesive sealing. So there's no need of drilling and filling, and there is no need for restorations. And it is only in the case of large caries lesions, already existing large caries lesions, and in the case of amalgam replacements, when an old amalgam filling has to be replaced, where we really need a restorative material. And the alternative for amalgam today would be a so-called bioactive adhesive restoration. Adhesive to restore the strength of the tooth, because an adhesive restoration will reinforce the tooth, which is not the case with amalgam, and bioactivity will be needed to protect the restoration against secondary caries. Now, this is a topic which has been recently discussed, especially in Germany. So what could be the alternative materials which comply with the conditions of adhesion and bioactivity? And there's a very, very recent publication, it's unfortunately in German. It was published some weeks ago, which spotted or which just showed the menu of different restorative materials which potentially could be used as amalgam alternatives. And finally, by reading the publication, only 2 of these materials were really considered real amalgam alternatives or potential real amalgam alternatives, namely glass ionomer cements or alkazit. Alkazit as kind of a bioactive resin composite material. Glass ionomer cement is something, a material which has been around already for several decades, which was usually used as a temporary material, but thanks to some reinforcement in the latest modifications of this type of material, it could be also potentially used as a permanent material. Both of them are very rapid in handling, they are simple, they are moisture tolerant, so they are very, very cost effective, not more expensive than amalgam restorations. Just to give you an idea what I'm talking about when I'm mentioning glass ionomer cements and alkazit. So glass ionomer cements are real cements. These are mixtures of acid and a glass filler. They harden by an acid-base chemical hardening reaction. They are provided in capsules, so they can be injected into the cavity in one single layer, which is called the bulk fill technique. Usually they are then surface coated by a light cured resin to protect them during the hardening period, and they have a bioactivity by releasing calcium and fluoride ions. Unfortunately, glass ionomer cements have quite limited mechanical properties, especially the fracture toughness is not extremely high. Alkazit is a quite recent group of restorative materials. They are based on classic composites, dental composites, so it's a mixture of resin and glass filler. They are free of bisphenol A. They use different monomers from classic composites. They might be chemically cured, so paste-based curing, but also light cured. This is called the dual cure technique. They are also provided in a capsule, so they are injected into the cavity, bulk filled in one single layer. They use an adhesive primer for very good adhesion on the tooth substance. They are also bioactive by releasing calcium and fluoride ions, but also OH ions, which may neutralize acids coming from the biofilm, so from the carcinogenic bacteria. And they have very good mechanical properties because basically these are restorative composite. There is a 3-year clinical study comparing glass ionomers with alkazit. And this study is very clear in its results. It is clearly saying that the success rate of alkazit restorations is comparable to clinical studies using other composite restorative materials. So these alkazit restorations behave in the same way like a traditional composite. And the performance is better than the one of glass ionomer cement, which means that finally the best amalgam alternative today seems to be alkazit, this alkazit restorative material. In respect to the bioactivity effect of these alkazit materials, you can see that there is also a study which compared the bioactivity of alkazit with glass ionomer cements and classic composite resins. And alkazits were the most biocompatible, so they remineralized artificial carious lesion in the best way, better than glass ionomer cements and also better than composite resins, because classic composite resins do not show any bioactivity. it is very difficult to foresee the future of these alkazid materials because the material has been around for about 5 or 6 years, so there are no long-term studies. But under the condition that finally it is a classic composite material, I think we can extrapolate the long-term survival by using studies which are already available in the literature on the long term of composite materials over even 30 years. And such a study is shown in this slide. Here in this study, the annual failure rate was only 1.1% over 30 years, which is absolutely incredible. This is a very, very low failure rate. And this study also states that the chemical cured resin, which was used in this study, showed even better performance than the light cured composite, which was also used in this study. So the chemical curing is apparently on the long term even better than the light curing. And you may remember that alkazide is a material which can be cured chemically or by light. So finally, it can, without any problem, follow the chemical curing to deliver the really best results possible. The previous study was done in medium-sized cavities. So, of course, there's also the question how composite materials would behave on the long term in extensive cavities, because by replacing amalgam restorations, sometimes you find yourself in a situation where the amalgam restoration is really very, very extended. So when it is replaced by an amalgam alternative, of course, such an amalgam alternative must also do the trick in extensive cavities in the case of extensive restorations. And here there's a 15-year study, so that's the longest I found in the literature, which shows that composite materials behave very, very well even in these extensive cavities. So direct composite restorations behave very well in these extensive cavities under the condition that the dentist who has long experience and is skilled in the placement of these direct composite materials. So finally, the limitation of the longevity is not that much the material, but really the skill of the practitioner. Coming to an end, take-home message. So finally, what I would like to tell you is the following. Dental amalgam ban is finally excellent news for patients, for the environment, of course, but also for dentists, because they will no more inhale these mercury damps and everything which is really no safe to their health. As an alternative, prevention is the best dental amalgam alternative, but as I already stated, it is not perfect. In the case of initial caries, early caries diagnosis and non-invasive treatment options are the way to go, where no tooth preparation and no real restoration is necessary, because we can regenerate these initial caries lesions and we can seal these caries lesions. And only in the case of large caries lesions and in the case of redentistry, bioactive and adhesive alkazide composite restorative materials, which are bioactive, may be used for the restoration. And maybe one important detail, which I already mentioned, finally, these composite materials require different handling and different skills in comparison to amalgam. So dentists who are only used in the placement of amalgams, they must learn how to use this new class of restorative materials. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be more than happy to answer all your questions.
Thank you very much. And that you're a man after my own heart, because I was involved with the development of the Minamata Convention. So over sort of 15 years going through the negotiating process. And in the 9 measures, the first one was prevention. And as you say, prevention only gets you halfway. You know, there is still going to be need for restorations, and we've been coming to it to a long time. And I would agree with you that the dental amalgam, because it doesn't do or has any conversation with the biology of the body, it kind of stops any development and stops any conversation. You drill a hole, you put something in it, and that's it. It's like a hole in the road. And I think what you've highlighted, and it goes back to Etienne's conversation, is that once we start moving away from that traditional old model of, okay, we're looking at materials in terms of mechanical properties, and we move to a more biological model, then we have all these conversations that we've never had before. And I think that's what you're alluding to. The education is still very much focused on restoring things rather than saying that's part of it. But the other bigger part is the biology of human systems, that we understand that whatever we do is going to have a reaction. And again, I think a lot of this is not new. I've been hearing it for 30 years. But I think what's happening now is with the ban, with climate change, with many things happening, I think all this information now has an opportunity to be brought into the spotlight and implemented. So I'd congratulate you on an excellent presentation. I'll pause there just to ask if there are any points or any clarifications, or anyone would like to make a comment. Etienne, coming back to you potentially.
Thank you. Yeah, so thank you, Ivo. That was wonderful, and just compliment what I was talking about. And I think we will be on the point of education, that we will not divide anymore oral health and systemic health. That will be health. And that will be a point that sitting a student in our first class university, he will be able to check the patient from the blood to the oral cavity, and in this environment decide a treatment integrated into the medicine, into the physiotherapy, into the quality of life, psychology. And that's my point here. I think we are not far away of this situation, and we are really diving this way in a very positive way. I'm very excited since morning today. Yeah, that's my point here. I think education is going in this way, and we are not far away.
Excellent. And I think you mentioned Hervé Tasseri. He was talking a little bit earlier on, and people always associate prevention with things being very easy and not complicated. And you only have to listen to Tasseri and yourself, Ivo. Absolutely the opposite. It is highly complex because you're dealing with biological systems that are inherently complex. Actually, amalgam and restorative dentistry, it's the whole opposite. That is very simple because you're doing things that don't engage with the understanding the biological processes. So I think we're entering a very exciting period, because I think you know, dental medicine, we're moving much more into a health sphere to understand, and we'll have common language with colleagues. So thank you, Ivo. I think it's wonderful. It's, as I say, you know, really speaking to the agenda that I've been working on for a long period of time. And part of that agenda is also looking at the resources that we use to manufacture those materials, but also the waste products. And I think that, turning to our next speaker, Walter Ruffini, that also lends itself with businesses that have traditionally focused on dental amalgam, suddenly saying it's exactly that. We need to look at biological systems from the earth perspective and water. So moving from a very simplistic, we're just catching, you know, dental amalgam waste, to no, we need to protect and conserve water. And our part of our business model is to support dentists understanding their environmental impact on what they can do. So, Walter, I give the floor to you for your presentation, and thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Yes, hi to everyone, and good evening to everyone. Thank you, Julian, and thank you, Claudio, for the invitation. I'm really honored that I can participate and talk to this event. Let me pull a short presentation here. How does this work with Google Meets? Okay. Okay. How can I pull here the presentation? I'm not very familiar with Google Meets, so.
Walter, while you
Okay, yeah, okay. Well, yes, let me briefly introduce the company and myself. And my name again is Walter Ruffini. I'm a division manager, sales and marketing at the company Metasis. Metasis Medizintechnik is a company based in Austria, in Innsbruck. And we established ourselves as a company, it's a leading company for the production and the sale of amalgam separators. Along with amalgam separator, we have our own amalgam waste recycling plant here at our headquarters, where we recycle amalgam we collected worldwide. So our company mission reflects our sustainable environmental orientation, especially towards water, drinking water, and water issues. And again, with our products and services, we try to contribute to achieve especially the Goal 6, the Sustainable Development of Goal 6, for improving the water quality, and also to try to avoid senseless water waste.
Walter, you might need to go into presentation mode, because we're just seeing all your slides.
You see, no, I have the presentation mode here.
Okay.
I have the presentation mode here, so on my screen. So you see all the slides?
Yeah, and they're not moving.
They are not moving, so
okay. Now you've shuffled them along, but yeah.
So I'm again on the presentation mode. You see them now moving?
It's more all the slides, but we can see the slide that you're talking about. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. Again, it was our company mission, which reflects, as I said, the environmental orientation of our company, especially towards water, drinking water, and sanitation of water. And our products, they try to contribute to achieve this Sustainable Development Goal 6. Obviously, there would be a lot of topics we could talk about, but we have this limited time here, and therefore we focus on two topics. And one, obviously, is amalgam waste management, which obviously affects the water quality, as we have just heard in the previous presentation. We know the problem of mercury containing amalgam and polluting the water through the discharge of amalgam particles to the water itself. So there are estimates to still say that 8 up to 40% of the total mercury load to wastewater plants comes from dental offices. There are still around a lot of amalgam fillings which produce about 340 tons of mercury, which then gets discharged to the water treatment plants. And this has to be seen in combination to the fact that 1 gram of mercury can contaminate about 100,000 liters of drinking water. And we all know, I don't think we have to go into details here. We all know the problem about methyl mercury, which is formed when microorganisms react with mercury. This metallized mercury is highly toxic to humans and can pass on in the food chain. So, as we all know, and Minamata Convention addressed the issue, and a lot of regulators addressed the issues. We have here the mercury problem, which origin are amalgam fillings. How can the problem be addressed? Okay, we talk about the ban of amalgam. We talk about substitutes for filling material, but we all know that there are a lot of filling still around. Many patients still have a lot of, many persons still have a lot of amalgam fillings in their mouths, which sooner or later might be taken off, and that's when it comes to the problem. And one of the solutions for that problems for amalgam and mercury containing amalgam in the wastewater are amalgam separators. We know that in many countries, amalgam separators are already required to be installed in offices. We know that inside Minamata Convention, the topic is addressed, but it's not, from what I know, decided yet if amalgam separators will be the solution in all those countries which have signed the Minamata Convention. However, for the amalgam particles in wastewater, amalgam separator are a very successful solution. We have seen studies, and one most recent one was done in Minnesota, where they have seen that they had a reduction of 67% of mercury entering the wastewater treatment plant. And this is a huge reduction, which was possible. Why? Because of many dental offices were required to install amalgam separators. Talking about amalgam separators, there are different technologies which are we can classify in 4 different technologies. One is sedimentation-based technology, the other one is filtration, then we have centrifugation, or we have an ion exchange technologies. These are the 4 technologies which are also recognized inside the 11143 ISO standard, which is the standard used by regulators once they issue amalgam separator requirements. We have, as Metasis, also done installations, talking about Brazil, over there at the University in Friburgo, to see the reduction of mercury, the reduction of amalgam waste entering the sewage. The testing results will be available soon. There was a little bit of a delay because of COVID, and obviously this is a long-term study which has to be conducted. Matters is also working with UN on studies on amalgam separators. So we are participating now in installation of amalgam separators done in dental offices in Thailand. Along with amalgam separation, it's important also the proper use of certain vacuum line cleaner or suction system disinfectants. And as we see also in many best management practice document issued by different dental associations, chlorine and bleach containing products should never be used to sanitize, to disinfect lines, because they can reduce the removal efficiency, because they can dissolve amalgam particles and dissolve mercury out of amalgam particles, and so amalgam separator cannot capture them anymore. Obviously, we don't have only amalgam waste in the wastewater. We have also amalgam particles captured in chairside traps, suction filters. Then we have removed teeth which are containing amalgam. We have at offices where they use a lot of amalgam, we have spent amalgam capsules, and all this amalgam obviously has to be collected and disposed with licensed and recycling companies which can handle and recycle such kind of waste, so that we avoid again that amalgam waste is disposed in the environment. As already told at the beginning, Matters offers such amalgam recycling solutions. So we collect amalgam worldwide, and then we ship amalgam waste over to our main facility here in Austria, where we recycle the waste. We take off out of the waste the mercury, and along with other metals contained in amalgam fillings and or coming out from patients' mouths, and the amalgams go back to the industry. Meanwhile, the mercury we have to get rid, or we mix it with chemicals so that this mercury cannot be reused anymore. Out of our recycling facility, we recycle around 3 tons. We get 3 tons of mercury each year, coming from around 200 tons of amalgam waste we collect. So we see, because of the recycling, because of amalgam separator, because of the proper amalgam collection, a lot of mercury can be captured and kept out of the environment. The second topic we focus on this presentation is the use of dry vacuum system. We all know that dental offices are significant consumer of water. And still in many dental offices, especially in the US and also in the UK, many dental offices still are using liquid vacuum pumps, liquid ring pumps, to create the under pressure. So we have here two kinds of generators for under pressure. We have the dry vacuum pumps, where the under pressure is creating by an electric motor which moves a turbine or a side channel. And then we have the liquid ring pumps, where the under pressure is created through a water which electric motor which that spins water to create the vacuum. So you need a lot of water to create this vacuum, and this can be addressed by the dental office to avoid a lot of water waste. Again, liquid ring pumps, they need a lot of drinking water just to create this under pressure you need to be able to make patient treatments. However, there would be other technologies such as dry vacuum pumps where we don't need any water and we can avoid this senseless water waste. Here's some specs that about wet ring pumps or liquid ring pumps. The range of water consumption is about 0.5 to 1 gallon per minute, which are 2 to 4 liters per minute per horsepower. And this amount can go up to 600 gallons of water per day if we have a 5 horsepower pump, which means if you have an office with 4 up to 5 operators. Obviously, the more recent models can be equipped with partial or full recovery and recirculation systems to save drinking water. It means that instead of bringing to the pumps always, let's say, new drinking water, you reuse the water which you already added it to the pump itself. However, you always need a small amount of water, because you need during the day you need to clean the pump from the used water. You need to remove impurities, and for this you need to add drinking water to the pump. So again, waterless dry vacuum pumps may help to save thousands of gallons of water annually per dental office. Again, if you do the calculation per minute, and then we take the working hours and the working days, then we have really an enormous waste of water because of liquid or wet ring pumps. And furthermore, waterless dry vacuum pumps in the average can be about 30% more energy efficient than those liquid wet ring pumps. And since dry vacuum pumps are available. Many manufacturers, such as Metasys, offers them to the dental market. There is really a possibility to reduce the water consumption in dental offices just with a small move from wet ring pumps to these dry vacuum pumps. This was our presentation focused on the quality of water and on the efficient use of water to avoid water waste. Again, our products were designed to contribute to achieve such goals, and the history and our experience has shown that only small adjustments to dental offices cost not very costly, convenient adjustment can really bring the dental office to a next level in regards of sustainability and environmental orientation. Thank you for your presentation. And
thank you very much, Walter. And again, it's nice that you linked that last point, saying that actually it's very cost effective, and not only do you save money, you save enormous amounts of water. So again, linking the health, if you like, to the water in terms of the Sustainable Development Goals. So if you go down into the Sustainable Development Goals, there is a target for pollution in the health goal, and the same target is also in the water. So again, you've highlighted this link between the planet, if you like, and our water supply. And that creates a very nice segue into our next speaker, who's Dr. Gerhard Seeberger. And this is that theme water then moves into patient care. So with climate change and the impact of heat waves and a lot of the challenges we're facing, we not only do we need to rethink perhaps some of the conversations around water outside the dental practice, we need to start understanding the impact and the water issues on patients for their eyes, for their kidneys, but most importantly for their oral cavity. And again, just taking those Sustainable Development Goals, you've got a link between universal health coverage. So again, the sustainable goal for universal health coverage, if you were part of the session this morning, that is really the driving goal for oral health and the health sector. And then if you look at the Sustainable Development Goal for water, there's almost the same thing, access to safe and affordable water. So again, nice correlation between the water SDG and the health SDG. And having spoken to Gerhard, very excited to hear how he's starting to adopt assessment and patient care with this idea of what's happening on climate change. So without further ado, Gerhard, very, very interested and keen to hear about your presentation, what you're doing outside and inside your dental practice.
Yeah, good evening, everybody, and thanks to Julian for involving me into this session 8, Strengthening Actions for Planetary Health. And of course, also thanks to Claudio for binding me into this specific session, which is actually, well, having its climax in Brazil next year. Now I would like to dive with you deeper into water, challenging assumptions and emerging risks for patients, how water can strengthen medical and dental integration. And just a short introduction, I'm actually the president of the Italian Dental Association after I have been the president of the FDI World Dental Federation. I'm still the immediate past president of the Academy of Dentistry International, which leads me to several countries where I'm looking first, before I start with any kind of oral health delivery, into safe water aspects I'm the past president also of the European Regional Organization of FTI. I'm the director of our two practices together with my son. I graduated in Würzburg, Germany, which was the first dental school in Germany since 1878. And I have been teaching also in the fields of periodontology and in oral and implant surgery in Italy and in Romania. And please receive also my declaration of non-vested interests. And let me kick off with this sentence, which was expressed by Gerhard Puttmer-Kramer, who is the president of the DHAT Foundation, and DHAT stands for Dubai International Humanitarian and Aid Conference and Exhibition. And when he closed with his remarks in relation to health, what actually we think it is, then he invited us to be sure that only 50% is medicine and 50% is behavior. And I dared, as we're looking not only into the disease of human beings, but we're looking also into the disease of the world surrounding us and the disease of the world, the planet itself, I allowed myself to change this in 50% is medicine and 50% is behavior change. And this leads me directly to the planetary boundaries introduced by former director of the Stockholm Resilience Center of Stockholm University, Johan Rockström, together with other world-renowned scientists in 2009, a concept which presents a set of 9 planetary boundaries within which humanity can continue to develop and thrive for generations to come. The planetary boundaries are the safe limits for human pressure on the 9 critical processes which together maintain a stable and resilient Earth. The last update presented is not only quantified for all boundaries, it also concluded that 6 of the 9 boundaries have been transgressing the line of the safe operating space, leading to abrupt or irreversible environment changes in a wider area. And according to my presentation's theme, I would like to put an emphasis on 2 boundaries. First, freshwater change, and second, climate change. Although all boundaries, of course, are interdependent and interrelated, and only by respecting all 9 boundaries can we maintain the safe operating space for human civilization. As the planetary boundary framework has generated enormous interest within science, policy, and practice, the Potsdam Institute for Climate Impact Research produces a yearly update to the framework called the Planetary Health Check since September of this year. And in order to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals and the Paris Climate Agreement, comprehensive stewardship of the entire planet is an urgent need, as human prosperity and equity now hinge on a fragile planetary stability. Climate change jeopardizes SDG 3, good health and well-being, and SDG 6, clean water and sanitation, as droughts and floods reduce access to safe water and put risk functioning sanitation systems, allowing for contamination of safe water sources. You see here the pictures that just 3 years ago from Cologne, a metropolis close to the Rhine River, from 2003, demanding for more than 160 lives. And you see a drought area in Africa. And just recently, the former president of Philippine Dental Association was sending me a picture of his practice after the recent floodings. The same water filters used in remote areas to guarantee access from blue and rainwaters have been utilized to overcome the limited safe water access during the floodings in the cities above, and of course also in the city of Liège, Belgium, more than 3 years ago, as already said. Both droughts and floods lead the population to substitute safe water with sugar-sweetened beverages. If I have experienced this in Africa mainly, increasing, of course, the risk not only for oral diseases, but also for other non-communicable diseases. So only think that in northern Cyprus, after the island divided, the Greek part has made everything to make rivers not arrive to the northern part of the island, which led the population to a major consumption of sugar-sweetened beverages. And even if this is not listed in official lists, in official WHO lists or United Nations lists, there's more than 38% of the population suffering from diabetes mellitus. Droughts and growing areas undergoing aridification demand for processes to extract safe water from the atmosphere. A challenging process as more than 90% of the globe's air is contaminated. Many areas are already in a zero water availability situation or running into it, like in South Africa, or recently, we know it also from Sicily, Italy. Medical and dental care and prevention would significantly suffer if clean water would be an additional cost factor and delivery of oral health care would be jeopardized or impossible. I would like to introduce to you PAL, which stands for Portable Aqua Unit for Life Saving, and PAL filters up to 99.99999% of bacteria and viruses, adenoviruses, for example, which are about 100 between 80 and 100 micron big, from contaminated water, and can be handled also by illiterates, as the process is explained by pictographs. It's assembled in an office driven by handicapped people. It costs about $1,200 US, and the cost per liter, which is running through this device, is approximately $0.00082 US in 10 years of time, and by 50% of standard usage. When I was referring to the arid areas, there we can have highly technological three-dimensional nylon nets, so-called fog collectors. It's food safe, it's UV resistant, it's carbon neutral, it allows for an easy installation, it doesn't need any maintenance, no energy is needed, and wind resistant up to 120 kilometers per hour. Just go back for a short while to PAL. PAL functions with a very expensive, between inverted commas, energy, and that's gravity. It would work also on the moon, even though 6 times slower. Back to the fog collectors, it collects up to 22 liters per square meter per day, which means 528 liters when we have 3 of those assembled, which would mean approximately an area of 24 square meters working for water. In my next slide, I would like to refer a little bit to literature. And Lau and Cohn workers were investigating on the intake after dehydration, which makes muscles more susceptible to cramp, but electrolytes reverse this effect. So when we look into hydration after dehydration, we should always have in mind that we substitute also the minerals that we have lost. In my hometown, my chosen hometown, Cagliari, the capital of Sardinia Island, Roberta Fada investigated on the effects of drinking supplementary water at school on cognitive performance in children. And they found out there was a positive correlation between dehydration and performance in the verbal analogy tasks and on short-term memory. Nishi et al. Investigated on water intake, hydration status, and 2-year changes in cognitive performance, a prospective cohort study. And they finalized with poor hydration status may be associated with a greater decline in global cognitive function in elderly with metabolic syndrome, overweight, and obesity. Watso and co-workers looked into hydration status and cardiovascular function, and this might really make us think, as they found out that mild to moderate hyperhydration impairs several indices of cardiovascular function in healthy young adults. And finally, looking also into hydration and muscle catabolism, and that was done by Sarah Pratt and co-workers, and they concluded that in elderly individuals with similar muscle mass, Those with higher intracellular water had a better functional performance and a lower frailty risk. Now, if we just go back to the basics, then we can definitely say that all depends on cell health, and there is no difference in a functioning cell in an oral cavity or a functional cell elsewhere in the body. Dehydration means simply that the inflammatory gradient goes up and cells are more prone to run into a disease. Quality education, to follow up with SDG 10, reduced inequalities and the entire 2030 agenda. And let me say here, quality education, as it has been mentioned before, and as prevention has been linked to it, and almost everybody of my four speakers was really emphasizing education. Education, and of course also the outcome of prevention, is jeopardized and maybe work or may work up to a certain percentage while the others are dropping out. Etienne was talking about the changes of implant materials and going from old to new, from titanium to zirconia implants or titanium implants with different zirconia layers. Ivo was talking about the substitution of amalgam and highlighting the downsides of this filling material, an old filling material. And if we look also into the future, then probably we will not in a very long term, make the acquaintance with composites, with AI, with artificial intelligence. But let me say here, and I say it, I take all the responsibility. While education is the influencer, just to be a little bit more in line with the new streamings, we have so many influencers out there. But definitely, coaching is or needs to be the follower. If we don't look into coaching in the future, our prevention methods will probably not change. But we have the high chance to take coaching into consideration in order to make also prevention more modern and more effective. However, the best time to implement the concept of prevention is at young age, to actively contribute to the achievement of all SDGs until 2030 and laying by this groundstone for health and prosperity for the future generations. States and governments must roll out programs for preventive medicine. In Italy, for example, we don't have any program for preventive medicine, and in other states, as I heard from my colleagues and friends all over the world, the same is the case. They need to foster oral health and health literacy and guarantee access, affordability, and availability of clean water, as more than 70% of the global water resources are under control of other than interests for a healthy global society. I thank you very much. I thank the organizers. I was asked for a different time frame, but it's not a problem. I am still young and flexible, and I would only, as I have very early tomorrow morning a briefing with the Italian Ministry of Health, ask you to address your questions now, and then I would leave. Please apologize.
Excellent, Gerhard. And as always, bringing in really, creative new thinking, linking water, but both, and then coming back down to human health. So, as you've asked, I'll throw open the floor for any questions. Etienne, if you want to come back, or Ivo, Claudio.
Gerhard, thank you very much. That was amazing presentation. I'm just wondering what really you mean about coaching. I didn't get your point really. Can you explain me better?
Yes, I can explain you. We are actually running some field studies in our practice after I had the possibility to link to, I'm not a university teacher anymore, or a university instructor, or a university, not educator, but also coacher. So we can educate as long as we want. If we don't really get the transfer from wisdom to action, then I think we are neglecting the possibility of making people do what they know about. I could make some example now with really coaching somebody to, everybody's jumping on toothbrushing. And we know that it makes a difference only in the combination with fluoride to downsize the caries incidence. Now, if we do not individually coach our patients, we can teach as long as we want. We will not get the efficiency of what we know and try to transfer in terms of knowledge. We don't only need a transfer of knowledge, we need a transfer so that people can act once they have the knowledge on their back like a rucksack. I hope I explained a little bit more what I'm looking into it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of
Actually,
another example.
About the example as well. You need to give the example, right?
Yes. For example, take a swimmer. And I tell the swimmer how to swim. I tell the swimmer how to swim effectively. I tell the swimmer how to swim fast. But if the swimmer has no coach and is not coached individually due to his physical performance capacities, then he will never win a gold medal.
I'm a swimmer. I know what you mean. Thank you.
Gerhard, I fully agree with you. You know, maybe 10 years ago, we started teaching dentists a so-called dental fitness program, and to tell them that they are dental coaches. And this is exactly what you are saying. You know, finally, it's very similar. The analogy is a fitness center, a medical fitness center, because if you go to a medical fitness center, it is not the coach who is doing the exercises, it's yourself. But the coach is here to advise you, you know, to measure your fitness first, the level of your fitness, then to advise you which device should you use to improve your fitness, then control you, motivate you, and you will come back and back again. So then this is a dental coach. I fully agree with that.
Thank you.
And Gerhard, I really like the idea of looking at the cellular biology, because again, it comes back to, you do a dental degree and you do a whole year of physiology and medicine, and then you park it. You just don't, you know, you don't go back to it. And what we really need to do is get dental students to understand that physiology is 30–40% of our work. And as you talk about the hydration, then we need to go back to the physiology. We need to go back to the biochemistry and understand how cells react, because that's our bread and butter. If we're moving towards this more biological idea of our work, as well as the planet, as you were saying. So a really well-made point about cellular biology, because it really kind of links, you know, Etienne, Ivo, Walter, and yourself together. It's the biology, it's the biosphere. Very good. Claudio, I'll hand it back to you.
As it's really exciting to see how technology, science, and innovation are going to shape the future of sustainability. It is indeed through the developments of solutions that are facing our challenges today that we can expect to move forward. There are a number of aspects, perhaps, that are on a philosophical background, and I congratulate this session today, because we see that there is a change of heart that is needed, not only a change of materials or a change of techniques, but there is a change of mind and a change of heart. And I think that comes to an excellent point, Julian, that we introduce the next part of our session, actually, because this is going to speak very, very closely to what we have discussed here today on this very one. You know, it is actually on the aspects of reaching out. It's how we bring people along with us. One of the aspects that was very clear during the sessions of the third oral conference, the global conference of oral health and climate action hosted by Pennsylvania University, was the importance of bringing people on. We will not change it if we do it ourselves. by ourselves, to ourselves, and I meant their profession, we need to be able to reach out and to make sure that politicians are along with us, not against us, that they see that a healthier world is a better world for everyone. And by making sure that we can establish reaching out strategies and possibilities, we will be able to bridge that gap and pave that way to, well, we'll be talking about some frameworks, which is an idea that sometimes is packed with limits. But what we really need is a mind and heart change of perspective, so that we can include the dimension of sustainability within the core of what we call the oral health domain, and integrate directly to the health part of the human being, until the point that there is no difference between health and oral health. So with that in mind, I believe we can move on and start our next part of the sessions. As a matter of fact, we still have a few minutes. Perhaps there are a couple of speakers that are not on yet. Perhaps we can make more use of time, Julian. We do have some 15 minutes we can spare before we move on to the next part. And perhaps we can explore a little bit more of the wonderful talks that were given at this session.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I would say is that we are looking at to move quite quickly in developing the program for Brazil, so for next year. And I think it's trying to take a different lens and bring what we've been talking about. So things like biological dentistry on that model will definitely be a major session, around water as well. So Ivo and Etienne, we're coming back to you to say, well, how can we start developing these sessions? And we'll have more time in Brazil. We're not going to confine ourselves to one day. You know, we're going to sort of build out on these, because I think what we're seeing is that there is this realization, I need to move. And what we heard this morning was people saying, okay, I've been listening to this for 30 years. I'm kind of convinced, but I've never had the push. And now I've definitely got the push, because all sorts of things are pushing me, not just me, but all the people, you know, in my community. So I think what we would like to do next year is to look, as I say, you know, what would we actually do? What does this look like? So Etienne, could you, you know, maybe, you know, thinking ahead, what types of session could you imagine, you know, around what you're doing, and trying to sort of presenting it in a novel way that would appeal to dentists to say, you know what, I'm going to take this up. This is definitely the future, and I need to get onto the, you know, to the band or into the boat now.
You know, Julian, thank you once more for this opportunity. What comes always into my mind is that we have desired patient that has pushed us to ceramic implants. That's the desire of the patient that moved the development of a new material. And in this scene, not to talk about ceramic implants, but talking about a new generation of dentists and a new generation of patients that would like to have in their life, for eating, for sleeping, for habits, for a lifestyle, the quality of life. And in this field, I think we need to look how biology, that's my strength, can help to feed professionals on the way of they can, oh yes, I'm this new generation, or even I'm old generation, but I need to fit into this model because my patient need that, and because I understand that as a human being, as a patient, and as a doctor, that I cannot move in another way. I need to fit into this model. And I think like biology dentistry is exactly this theme. And we are talking here about maybe all the issues that is around material infection or infection in systemic diseases that we can approach and go through deeply inside of this theme. So it's just a bit of my, a little bit of my highlights, but I can definitely go deeper inside of that and share with you whatever you think. Yeah, but I think it's about this new generation, new models, and people need to fit into that because there's no other way to go.
I mean, that's a fantastic point, because it kind of leads into what I was going to ask Eva. There is no other way to go. Basically, amalgam is, that's the end of it. We can't go backwards. We've got to go forwards. And I suppose over the negotiation period of the Minamata Convention, people are always coming up to me and saying, Julian, we can't survive without amalgam. There is absolutely no other material, particularly, as you said, Ivo, for the disadvantaged, the rural communities. You mentioned Sention, you mentioned these new materials. Do you think that now we've got rid of that roadblock, that actually people will grab these new materials, as Etienne was saying, grab these new ideas and say, you know what, why didn't we think this before? There is no problem with using these new materials in these new situations. Do you think it's just been a mindset, or there are genuine barriers for moving ahead?
Let me just say that I'm extremely excited and happy to be part of this group. I think that it's absolutely marvelous to see that things are really moving forward. And to answer your question, finally, it's the mindset and it's the education. Somebody who was working in dentistry or has been working in dentistry for decades and has used amalgams for decades has absolutely no clue about how to handle composites. So finally, what these people do, they handle composites in the same way like amalgam. And this is the main reason for failures. And handling of composites is not difficult, it's just different. And of course, you have to know the let's say, the problems, or let's say the points which may finally lead to failures, which are not always obvious. It's the same like with amalgams. You just have to learn that. And the problem we have with, especially with some elderly colleagues who have been working for decades in their private offices, they do not want to learn. That's the problem. And they do not want to change. So it is a kind of a resistance, passive resistance to learn something new. And they have to do it, because otherwise it is not possible to move forward. So it's all about education. Again, it's about education. If you look at the materials, of course, the materials are far from being perfect. Nothing is perfect, even though the natural tooth is not perfect. But I think that it is good enough to deliver to our patients excellent quality of dental treatment and also of prevention. But the people do not know how to do it, to be very honest. They have no clue, and they do not learn it, because if you look worldwide on what is taught in the universities, it's always old stuff. Nobody dares to teach new things, except some exceptions. Very few exceptions.
Yeah, and I also think, amalgam is sold as a material you can use underwater, which is completely the wrong message, because it's a blunt instrument. And
yes.
And it's what you're saying is you need to engage with the patient. You need to be working with that patient, understanding the patient's biology. So I think, to me, it's the mindset underpinning the education, and Claudio asked me to say, you would have loved to hear a group of young dentists who are global oral health ambassadors. Their appetite for change is enormous. And when I'm teaching in these classes around the world on global oral health, it's the young students, and you've got this sense of urgency. You've got this sense we want to move. You know, we're being held back. And as the student of Zimbabwe came up with a very nice analogy, said, we're being taught on what was.
Exactly.
Not being taught on what is and what will be.
Yes.
And I think that, to me, you know, from a young dentist in Zimbabwe, you know, that's what we move to. Why are we putting plastic all over our chairs and throwing our instruments away if the patient's cancelled and they don't even walk into the building? It's that sort of, we have to really re-look at what we're doing and saying there are other ways of doing it. And once you open that door, I think you'll find that the young dentists, the new dentists will say, everyone else is doing this. This is the way we want to go. So I do think my feeling from this morning was a tip, and you would have loved this sort of what was, you know, what is and what will be. And I think that's where they want to go.
I fully agree with that. I think we have to target young dentists, and we have to teach them the future, not the past. This is absolutely, I fully agree with that, 100%.
Let me take this point, Julian, and explore it a little bit more on regards of opportunity and challenges. You see, the innovation has created a lot of possibilities for the world to develop. I mean, take the energy area, for example. Not too long ago, we were using lead-fueled gasoline, which was an enormous problem for everyone in the planet. And it was by developing new solutions that addressed the problem that we were able to include millions of more people consuming that kind of fuel, but without the enormous effect that lead was going to have in the entire planet. So it is important to bear in mind that the issue that we are talking here is not a war against one material. What we're talking, it's an entire new mindset that include the dimension of sustainability in our life, because we have not been considering that before. That is a true value that we need to include. The aspects of sustainability were not there when the scientists were developing new materials, when clinicians were developing new techniques. By looking into this, by having the sustainable dimension as part of the process, we will be able to revisit the processes that we adopt and how people can feel that they are included, because that's the real way of sharing ideas and giving incentive to new behavior, to new social practices. So I'm very happy here with this debate. And Julian, I think we have a true mark in making innovation one of the headlines for COP30, and how much that can influence, help, assist the professionals to develop the solutions that society needs in order to bridge the gap and become a more sustainable aspect for all involved.
Yeah, I would agree with innovation is one thing, but I still come back to the idea of biology. You know, there are fundamental things about us as humans, about the planet, that we need to focus on. You know, innovation is one, but I think we need to not lose sight of how our bodies work, and that doesn't really change. And I think we need to marry what we do with the realities of our bodies and understand that and align it with our bodies much more. So, Etienne.
I just want to point on one thing. It's not one or the other. We are just developing a new way of diagnosis. For instance, we have MRA and seeing lesions in treatment, endodontic treatments, that we can never ever see that in tomography, for instance. We see inflammation before the lesion appears. So we are developing on a way that we can go through the path. So we can talk about innovation, but we definitely should go through the way, base it on the biology and our body function, because we are developing in a way that we are just discovering what is going on with the cells.
Okay, yeah, there I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we are now ready to cross this next sentence and start our next session that will indeed come to this point where we meet people, we meet the society at large, and we discuss cases and situations that are of importance to develop a social awareness and assist the population to understand better, to acquire more literacy on it regards the aspects of health, prevention, and sustainability themselves. So it is with great pleasure that I will welcome here a number of new speakers. I will give a presentation myself on discussing a little bit some ideas for reaching out sustainable oral health, and then I'll be followed by a few more talks that will show some cases that have been applied, some experiences that have been applied and are of great importance for people to relate on and help building this new dimension for sustainable health. So please let me share my screen. Okay. There you go. Should be coming up. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So I'd like to make a very short introduction of myself. I'm at the Fluminense Federal University, working with the Institute of Health of Nova Friburgo, which is a city not far from the capital of the state of Rio. I run the Center for Sustainable Dentistry at our site, and as well I coordinate the aspects of the innovation agency of our university, where we have an incubator for a number of startups. So our dental school is located about 160 kilometers of the city of Rio, and it's hosted in a very nice very green area of the Atlantic forest, a house of the Baron of Nova Friburgo back from the 19th century. So the main background that I need to speak about is really looking into, well, is oral health care sustainable? Have we looked at it? I mean, is this something that we have considered? And what we really see is that with all the aspects that sustainability is requiring from everyone else, from what's happening around the world with climate change's impacts, what COP29 is so much dedicated in doing, is also happening in our own area. Dental profession is being challenged by an ever-increasing demand for better oral health care, but might be more people, more countries than really has done before. And at the same time, we are also being required to reduce the demands we place in the Earth's finite resources. So there is a challenge there that must be met. And in fact, our success as professionals from the oral care service, oral care sector, is going to be judged by how well we can face these challenges and we can transform ourselves, we can reinvent ourselves in a sustainable way. And I like to point a few areas to show how much work we actually have to do. This was some research that was done a few years back in São Paulo State University, looking at consumption of water of some different parts of the country. And it seems that a dental office is consuming 700 liters of water a day, approximately 7 times more than a conventional recommended water consumption per capita in the country, which is an enormous amount of the use of water resources. We also have already seen a number of, even in this conference today, a number of aspects related to materials that have aspects that are delicate and need to be treated because they are potentially harmful to the environment and to the health of the individuals. The Minamata Convention is all about that. It's about mercury, and it's about not only dental amalgam, but all mercury sources around the world. And it's only one example because there are so many others related to materials. We also need to address that the issue of sustainability is not only related to environment, it's also related to availability of service of care for the population. If we look at this graphic, although it's already a couple of decades old, and it's a world mapper from 2004, it expresses very well the density of dentists working and versus the population that is supposed to receive that. And if we can map that out, you see that there are huge manifestations of some countries, while some others disappear. Look at Africa. What is Africa? We see an enormous difficulty there and a challenge to balance this. And then we look at the area of energy efficiency, for example. Everyone here, certainly when you buy a freezer, an air conditioner, a stove, or whatever type of new equipment for your house or business, you'll be looking there of your energy cells or energy efficiency marks. Okay, how about dental equipments? Are dental equipments equipped with energy efficiency seals, marks? Well, last time I've looked, not in Brazil at all, and I haven't been able to see any of these happening in other parts of the world. Why not? So what we really have to understand is that the human demands are not going to be reducing anytime soon. On the contrary, we have a population that's still growing, and it's going to grow, and not only in numbers, but on appetite for consumption. We need to understand that countries that have not been able to participate on the world markets are now becoming more stable financially. They need resources, they need materials, they need products, they need to consume. So how we can balance this? It is not an easy task. We need to face our issues in order to completely fulfill that relationship. And we look at the solution, we can see that sustainability is indeed part of that solution, as it must be. And we look at sustainability ahead as the part that we can move forward. Okay, yes. And if we look at, if we want to have some kind of framework, you don't really have to look much further. You have a framework since 2011, when the triple bottom line was established, and what has been done back there and presented so beautifully during Rio +20. We have an environment dimension. We have an economic dimension. We have a social dimension. And then we have the interface. When everything is present, then you will have a sustainable dimension. Not here, not here, not there, but here. This is our goal, and it must be considered in every part of our activity. The consensus document that was obtained back there, and it's more than 15 years ago, has really followed the path and pointed into a direction that was summarized very simply by the Secretary General of the United Nations at that point. Sustainability is not the best way, but the only way to the survival of the human species. And research, development, and innovation will play a very significant basis for the future of sustainability processes, even for understanding how it happens, but also for coping, or how you can establish that dimension and access for everyone in the planet. There lies the main challenge. The United Nations 2030 agenda is a pathway of possibilities to ensure that that can be achieved. And still, how much of that is really implemented into the health area? How much of in the business, in the culture, in the education, in the science and technology, even in the accounting sectors? We need to promote responsible consumption. We need the people to be informed, motivated, interested, and charging us to develop this. We need to reduce consumption, to reuse whatever type of products we create. We need to recycle whenever possible. And we need, most of all, to re-educate our society, not only from the professional point of view, but of course, also from the professional point of view. Our students need to listen to this. They need to see the world from a different eye view and include sustainability as part of their dimension. That was a sentence that really caught my attention when I represented FDI back in the 2012 meetings of Rio +20. Only accountants can save the world. Yes, by metrics, by incorporating what are you doing in your balance sheet every year when companies within dentistry, without dentistry, start to relate how much reduction in energy they have been able to achieve, how much more education on environment they have been able to achieve, how much of logistic regression they have been able to achieve, and include all the aspects of sustainable frameworks into the integrated reporting. That is really a thought for the future we want to build. And then what we see in the end, that we have there to face the fact that sustainable development is everybody's business. We need industry engaged, we need service, we need science, technology, innovation, and we need government, because without public health and regulatory aspects, it's difficult. It creates a sense of insecurity that perhaps the major investments will fall short or will be risky to take. Yes, that part is also necessary. Is sustainability a business? Well, why not? Why can't sustainability be a business if that will create the safety, the need, the change? And, all back from the blue economy principles in the 60s, a report to the Global Rome has already seen it, that sustainability, yes, can be a business case, can pay off. It can be profitable to become sustainable, not only because you're saving energy, reusing materials, and adopting more quality level procedures, but because you are changing the metrics of consumption. You're changing the metrics of how people relate to products and are able to move them around that. Yes, many people never think that this is possible, that it's only a matter of increasing costs, but it's not. It is also an axis that needs to be better exploited. So to finalize what we have, well, we have the oral health profession as such is a very important part of human life, and it needs finally to take responsibility for integrating SDG Sustainable Development Goals into daily practice and really underwrite a shift to green economy. we need to be preemptive to meet social demands and to reduce the strain in natural resources to promote good oral health for all. If not, well, we have seen that story before. Thank you so much for listening to this. I hope that this helps us to understand how important it is for to getting people engaged, not only because it's important for them, but because they see that the oral health profession is doing their part. It's participating, it's joining the world in a moment of change. Let me interrupt my sharing here. I also believe that it would be best to have questions and remarks by the end of the session. So if I can move on and ask Dr. Ricardo Amore to our next speaker and to present on the next topic that we have aligned here. And that is going to be a very nice way of looking into an interesting example on how to engage people in a new direction. Dr. Ricardo Amore is going to talk about Project Cura Cycle, facing the challenge of oral hygiene waste. Please, Dr. Amore, you're welcome to perform. Also to your presentation, please. Just let me remind the speakers that we are in a double language scenario. So Dr. Ricardo Amore is welcome to perform in English or in Portuguese, as you prefer. All the lectures here are translated automatically to our audience, okay?
Cláudio, por favor, me informe se você recebe a minha apresentação, por favor.
Ainda não, Ricardo. Sim? Está chegando por aqui?
Pronto?
Ok.
Ok, boa noite. Muito obrigado pelo convite. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês num evento tão importante, mundial, que busca promover a saúde bucal resiliente e sustentável. Vou apresentar o projeto Cura Cycle, enfrentando o desafio do desperdício da higiene bucal. Antes, gostaria de apresentar a vocês a forma como a CuraProx trabalha, sempre considerando em primeiro plano a saúde e a educação. Este que vocês podem ver ao fundo é o professor Seldelmayer, criador da filosofia ITOP de higiene oral e que a CuraProx adota, que tem o significado de profilaxia oral treinada individualmente ou higiene oral treinada individualmente, no sentido amplo de que um instrumento, uma ótima escova, um ótimo produto de higiene oral por si só, não representa tudo que nós precisamos para garantir uma saúde oral adequada. Ele não é nada sem uma educação, sem uma filosofia que possa ser ensinada e individualizada. Desta forma, costumamos dizer que educamos pessoas como principal lema para que a saúde oral dos pacientes, e por que não dizer a saúde geral, já que não existe saúde geral sem saúde oral, elas possam ser atingidas e alcançadas. Paralelamente ao avanço tecnológico, por exemplo, com escovas de múltiplas cerdas ultra ou mega macias, que possibilitem uma higiene eficaz, atraumática e motivacional, a CuraProx tem grande preocupação com o meio ambiente e, nesse sentido, tem desenvolvido projetos voltados para a sustentabilidade. Foi assim que nasceu, em parceria com a ONG Amigos da Vez e com a Ecofor, presidida pelo Adriano, uma figura muito responsável e que atua em parceria com a CuraProx e com a ONG Amigos da Vez, com o projeto Cura Cycle, que foi dessa forma que ele nasceu. Assim sendo, a CuraProx, conhecida mundialmente como uma empresa do segmento da higiene oral, tem por meta ser uma empresa de higiene oral, sim, mas também da educação e da sustentabilidade. Tendo como pilares, no primeiro plano, ao lado esquerdo, educação, ciência, inovação e arte, sempre, como apontamos do lado direito, com responsabilidade social, responsabilidade ambiental e econômica. E para caminhar na direção da sustentabilidade, é sempre importante, como disse o Cláudio na apresentação, o professor Cláudio Fernandes, na apresentação anterior, lembrar do conceito dos 4 R's, e que aqui eu me atrevo a colocar um quinto R, uma quinta observação, quando nós sentirmos que ele é possível. Então, reutilizar, reduzir, recusar, reciclar e repensar. Recusar, quando eventualmente sentirmos que o conceito de responsabilidade social, ambiental e econômica estão gravemente feridos por exemplo, um greenwashing, que não é a melhor forma de atuar quando se fala seriamente de sustentabilidade. Repensar um mundo moderno e melhor, com responsabilidade, como eu disse, social, ambiental e econômica, por que não invertendo os papéis, utilizando da arte, da ciência, da inovação e da educação, do berço ao berço, cradle to cradle. Este é um projeto que orgulha muito a Curaprox de ter participado e participar do projeto marinecultures.org, que é uma pequena organização financiada por doadores, cuja missão é ajudar a proteger e gerenciar os recifes de corais, ao mesmo tempo em que melhora as condições de vida daqueles que dependem deles. Por meio da criação sustentável de esponjas e corais, a organização oferece ao povo jambiane, em Zanzibar, uma alternativa ao cultivo mal pago de algas marinhas. Entretanto, escovas de dentes velhas e usadas são difíceis de encontrar, produtos, mesmo que usados, de qualidade em Zanzibar. Então, a Curaprox entra nesse cenário, oferecendo a toda a população envolvida no projeto, para que, primeiro de tudo, eles façam sob orientação socioeducativa do uso das escovas para a higienização, em especial a escova mais comum, mais frequentemente conhecida que ela tem, que é a escova ultramacia 5.460, que, como o nome sugere, tem 5.460 cerdas ultramacias. E elas são ótimas para limpar os corais e depois da sua utilização. Então, o descarte, ele não é feito. Após o uso individual, ele é selecionado, diferenciado, para limpar os corais por causa da sua cabeça pequena e excelente qualidade de cerdas. Ao pronunciarem a respeito disso, eles informam que as cerdas são macias e não caem, não se deslocam. As escovas de dente, então, são sempre primeiramente distribuídas às pessoas para o uso, sob orientação, antes de serem utilizadas como escovas de limpeza na fazenda de corais. Um projeto belíssimo, que foi um dos primeiros trabalhados pela Curaprox. E, enfim, nessa caminhada, depois de uma apresentação, a gente agora mergulha no projeto CuraCycle, que é um projeto que envolve profissionais de odontologia e pacientes na coleta de escovas dentais, tubos de pasta de dente, de enxaguatórios, enfim, de outros acessórios de higiene oral já utilizados e que possam ser agora aproveitados, como mostramos ali no lado direito, em parceria com a ONG Amigos da Vez, presidida pelo Dr. Maurício Querido, que tem grande responsabilidade, um empreendedor, um empresário muito conhecido aqui no mundo da odontologia, em São Paulo, Brasil, e em parceria com o Adriano da Ecofor, também com grande engajamento no conceito de responsabilidade social e ambiental. Desenvolvido, e, portanto, em parceria com essa ONG Amigos da Vez, ela é uma organização sem fins lucrativos que busca levar a população mais carente, mais vulnerável, atividades socioeducativas de orientação em higiene oral e atendimento odontológico também. Ela procura conscientizar, gerar uma consciência, acho que esse é o grande conceito, um mindset, tanto para profissionais, cirurgiões, dentistas, como para os pacientes, e envolvê-los, conceito de consciência e educação, sendo que o seu consultório, de cada um, pode ser um ponto de coleta de itens de higiene oral e futuramente enviados para a ONG. O dentista, portanto, recebe uma caixa de descarte e todo o material coletado é enviado pelos correios para ser transformado por artistas plásticos em obras de arte que serão futuramente leiloadas como forma de gerar renda para a ONG Amigos da Vez. Além de ser encaminhado em muitas situações para os artistas plásticos, são, na maioria das vezes, também encaminhadas diretamente para a Ecofor, para a elaboração de materiais reutilizáveis. Ao centro, podemos ver o professor Dr. Hugo Roberto Legói, CEO educacional da Curaprox, apresentando aos jornalistas o projeto Cura Cycle e apresentando produtos já reciclados e preparados pela Ecofor em parceria com Amigos da Vez. Nesta imagem, podemos verificar do lado esquerdo um dos totens colocados em lojas de conveniência, em shopping centers, em universidades, para a coleta do material a ser enviado para a ONG Amigo da Vez, em parceria com a Ecofor, e já nos quadros centrais e da direita, o resultado dessa reciclagem desses produtos com a produção de obras de escultura, de armações de óculos, de cadernos, de porta-papéis, de placas para construção de casas populares, enfim, armários, uma infinidade de produtos, como porta-retratos, que podem trazer de volta, sem que o descarte seja feito diretamente no meio ambiente. Cradle to cradle, do berço para o berço. Nessa imagem, a Ação mostra que a Ação também é divulgada e disponibilizada, agora não em caixas pequenas em consultórios, e sim totens em shopping centers, engajando novamente a população a participar, descartando seus produtos a serem coletados. Depois de completado o totem, são novamente enviados ou retirados pela ONG para que os produtos possam gerar dinheiro ou obras de arte ou materiais de uso rotineiro. Além da apresentação deles em lojas, supermercados, lojas de conveniência, os totens também são disponibilizados em universidades, porque é importante engajar, mexer com o alunado, que já cresce com aquele pensamento de prevenção, o pensamento de responsabilidade social, ambiental, para o bem da população. Como é nessa imagem sugerindo a Universidade de São Paulo e a Universidade Federal Fluminense, em Nova Friburgo, onde sempre nós temos à disposição os totens para a coleta dos materiais. E aqui uma outra ação muito importante, essa eu diria até muito mais decisiva, porque vai direto à população mais vulnerável, a população ribeirinha de uma região chamada Ponta Negra, em Paraty, próximo a Paraty, no Rio de Janeiro, onde as pessoas, e principalmente crianças, recebem gratuitamente os itens de higiene oral. São atendidas, recebem o atendimento odontológico e também orientação sobre higiene oral e sobre as ações ambientais, como o descarte correto. São orientadas a guardar, e no retorno do projeto socioeducativo, em 2 ou 3 meses, eles recebem novas escovas e novos itens de higiene oral em troca dos materiais guardados e armazenados, preservando assim o meio ambiente. Nesse mesmo ambiente, para participar e ficarem engajados, participam de brincadeiras educativas sobre higiene oral e também sobre o meio ambiente. Nesta foto da esquerda, por 2 ou 3 vezes, eu comentei sobre o presidente, o responsável pela ONG, sem fins lucrativos, amigo da vez, em pé de branco, professor, doutor Maurício Querido. Mais uma vez eu destaco a sua responsabilidade nessa parceria como um empresário, um empreendedor de muita responsabilidade. Este é o lema que a gente tem que trabalhar e enxergar o tempo todo. Como o projeto Curaçaico, menos plástico vai para o meio ambiente e mais vida se renova na natureza. Com isso, temos menos desperdício e mais impacto positivo, menos produtos descartados e mais saúde para o planeta. Este, já caminhando aqui para o final, é outro projeto que honra demais a parceria com a Curaprox, que além do Curaçaico, ela tem orgulho de contribuir com o projeto SOS Mata Atlântica já há vários anos. Neste ano, foi lançada uma nova campanha com escovas de dentes da Curaprox coloridas, em homenagem a 4 aves da Mata Atlântica, como do lado esquerdo, o tietê-sangue, a saíra de 7 cores, o tangará dançarino e o pica-pau de cabeça amarela, com parte da renda oferecida ao projeto SOS Mata Atlântica. Agradeço a todos pela oportunidade de divulgar um pouco do trabalho da Curaprox com responsabilidade social, ambiental e econômica.
Thank you very much, Ricardo Amore,
Thank you,
for
Claudio.
this exciting presentation showing how responsibility can be met and should be met by not only the consumers, but also the producers. It's stimulating to see that engagement is being produced and promoted in several areas of our own domain. And with that in mind, I think we'll be enjoying it very much to see how people have been in connection with the aspects of oral health, but from a different perspective. The project Sorrir Muda Tudo, Smiling Changes Everything, is one of these examples that really show a direction where we can promote and we can move on. So in that regard, I would like to invite Dr. Regiane Marton, representative of the ABIMO, the Brazilian Industry Association of Medical Devices, and a leader of the Sorrir Muda Tudo project, to speak a little bit about that for us and to show the ideas behind it and some of the results, incredible results that have already been achieved. Thank you so much, Regiane, for joining us here today.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure and my honor to be here with you. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Coming up?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yes. Yes.
Now you can see?
Yes, it's good.
Okay. So thank you for the opportunity to show what we are being done with industry association. So the ABIMO is the Brazilian Industry Association of Medical Devices, the main representative entity of the Brazilian medical devices industry. And it's a pleasure to be here cooperating with this third Global Oral Health and Climate Action Conference as an introduction to the fourth Global Oral Health Conference that will take place in Brazil next year. As you know, Brazil is a continental-sized country, and we have one of the biggest population in the world, not, let's say, balanced distributed around Brazil. Talking about the healthcare sector, health expenditure is $167.7 billion. Per capita is 807. Health expenditure GDP it's 90.6, and the public health expenditure is for 7.7, and private the percentage is a little bit higher, that's 52.3. The total of the companies, according to the work ministry, it's 4,525. And the total of equipments, 2.4 millions, and the national production is 4.5 billions of US dollars. The exportation is around 750 millions of US dollar, and importation is 4.9 billions. So we import more than we export now, and we employ around 73,000 direct labor. We are the main representative of the Brazilian medical devices industry and represents around 700 Brazilian medical device industry, what is more or less 8% of the sector's industrial production. In the sectors of medical, odontology, laboratory, rehabilitation, and biotechnology. Our areas of action supporting the Brazilian industries, the regulation, legal sector, exportation, innovation, training, and the government relations. We promote the sustainable growth of the sector in the national and international market and support the development of industry in their innovation and the technology challenge, with a totally commitment to contribute and support global oral health and global health. Our production capacity can supply 95% of any hospital and clinical demands, producing from disposable instruments to the complex machinery. And ABIMO has supported the Minamata Convention on Mercury Phase Down for many years, has supported sustainable package concept where it's possible, of course, the replacement of plastic for biodegradable materials, and has supported regulation discussions to engage and promote the global oral health. ABIMO, in reality, has supported any ESG concept and ethical, and also any action that guides to the sustainability. And we have many projects running, but I think here it's very important to highlight two projects. One is the alliance with ABNT, that's National Standards Forum, recognized by International Society. The project coordinated by ABIMO to internationalize an international technical normative from dental, medical devices, and laboratory, supporting standards that leads production and regulations to be harmonized to cut costs, simplify process, and allow companies to invest and improve in public health. I presented some time ago in this forum regarding to the actions of ABIMO regarding to ESG as well. And here I would like to present the campaign that's completely focused in oral care. So Rir Muda Tudo, that means smiling changes everything, with a big social impact strategy. It's a project coordinated by ABIMO, and the campaign completely focused on the promotion of oral health with the aim of bringing quality information to the population and engaging dental professionals and the private sector in the development and improvement of oral health. So Sorrir Muda Tudo is going now to the year 5. And since the creation, the Sorrir Muda Tudo has aimed to encourage the population to make regular visits to dentists and a habit, and raising awareness about the importance of prevention and the relationship between oral health and oral well-being, overall well-being. Now we celebrating the 5 years of the existence. We invite you, everybody, to discover everything the campaign has accomplished so far. So it's executed by ABIMO. It's the only large-scale campaign that has support the most of the important entities in the Brazil sector. So we have Brazilian Association of Dentistry, we have São Paulo Association of Dentistry, we also have Brazilian Association, Dental Association, the Council Federal and São Paulo Council as well, and the Digital Dentistry Brazilian Association. Together, we have promoted many smiles with support from private sector in the industry. These are the industry that participate of the campaign since the beginning, executed by ABIMO. And we have not only industry from the dental care, oral care, and medical devices care, but we also had some companies that outside of the sector supporting the campaign along of the last years. And the actions that we do, by now, over than 25 million reached through the social media, over than 50,000 visits to our website, over than 250,000 views on YouTube, over than 7,000 followers on Instagram, over than 30 participating influencers. Highlight on media, high audience newscasts. Participation in 4 editions of CIOSP, the São Paulo's International Dental Meeting, with over than 40 speeches. Actions at Paulista Avenue in partnership with Saúde and Fiesp and ABIMO, Fiesp's Federal Industry State of São Paulo. And here you can see that we do online and offline activities because the idea is to have focus in different personas, different population that we can reach with most of the all informations, quality informations regarding the oral health. We had a distribution of oral hygiene kits for the population and the orientations to the population realized by the dentists during this action that took place on March, that we call the Brilliant March campaign. And the idea is that to transform Paulista Avenue, one of the most important avenues in São Paulo, Brazil, sidewalk on a space of caring and conscientization. And there is a law project currently under consideration in São Paulo City Council, aiming to include Brilliant March in the official event calendar of the city of São Paulo. And also with the Brilliant March, it's highlighted that we have illuminated the Fiesp Digital Gallery, is one of the postal cards of the city in São Paulo, to show how important is the oral health. We have a solid digital presence promoting oral health in an innovative way and offering content that is both fun and informative, is what we do. We combine valuable information with entertainment to engage both the general public and the dentists. So the idea here is to talk about prevention, supply literacy, and affordability, access to the oral care information. And the idea is to engage the industry, service, technology, and the government as well. With over than 7,000 followers and strong connection with our audience, our initiative aims to transform the perception of dental care and encourage health habits and engage in an effective manner. We talk about not only oral care, but also how the oral care is part of the systemic care, is part of the body health. In the CIOSP, with our presence already established, CIOSP is one of the biggest dental meeting of Latin. We continue to attract significant attention for dentists and dental students for our booth there, creating through this action the integration of all stakeholders of oral health and population. So the idea is always bring the information full of quality. We are ready to launch new actions and amplify the dissemination of information even more. The reason how we are going to the year 5. And the 4 pillars of the campaign is the sponsor squad, engage the dental industry and create an environment of cooperation, information, actions for the oral health. In addition to a scientific committee made up of the most relevant entities in the oral sector. Funding goal, our goal is to raise resources to fund the campaign, so here muda tudo, considering the participation of many dental companies as possible. The campaign plan is personalized. The idea is to have personalized actions to engage the sponsors company, detailing each stage and the actions to be carried out over the next 12 months. So the campaign is a yearly campaign. And accountability report. So we hold monthly meetings with entities to sponsor and the sponsors to present the campaign results. This is a vibrant community where all have opportunity to suggest ideas and participate actively. This is the main idea of the campaign. So I'd like to thank you the opportunity to present this campaign to all of you. This is one of important, stop to share. Okay, this is an important campaign led by industry association, and the idea is to bring the more information as possible to engage all players, all stakeholders, and informing as well how important it is for the sustainability world. So not talking only about health, but talking about all actions that can be held and can be done in direction of the sustainability.
Thank you, Regiane.
You're welcome.
Very nice, very good to, one thinks that you know the project, but then when you really see the data coming out of it and how much different areas it connects, it really shows the purpose here. Many people think that, well, sustainability is that green thing, right? That takes care of environment. Yes, but no. Yes, because it also takes care of the green thing, but it must take care of the people.
Yeah.
It must include society. It must be able to reach out and involve the population, because otherwise it's not touching anyone.
Yeah.
And what is needed to be done is becoming further and further away.
Yeah.
But not only from a, let's say, a perspective of giving away, of being philanthropic, but more of it, more important than this, it's really reaching out to become more inclusive in order to create opportunities. And when we create opportunities for people to develop, then there will be talents that will be discovered, there will be more energy into their work relationships, into their social relationships, and we can really find out more about the people. So thank you very much.
Yeah. I think here it's important to point that BMO is, as an industry association, we have many actions of engagement for sustainability. So as the same way we do ESG, we are very aware with well-being. So well-being means different areas of action, right? So we are talking about employees, we are talking about population, we are talking about industry that can be guided by the sustainable action, sustainable production, and so on. So here is the industry association has this important role in the society to bring a consensus to all players and all stakeholders of the channel of the industry, right?
So indeed, thank you for that contribution, Regiane.
Yeah.
When we are talking about the relationship with society, it's also very important to hear about a non-dental Association,
Yeah.
a group of people that is dedicated to advancement of sustainability as well, but they are formed by the collective efforts and collective knowledges of the organized society. And for this, we have been honored to have a participation of the Rotary Club, one of the oldest and most respected organizations in the world, to perform good, to perform better, to engage people in voluntary practices, to serve society in order to advance wherever it's needed. So we are very pleased to welcome Dr. Eduardo Sancho. He's the international advisor of Rotary Club District that oversees the area of Nova Friburgo region. And it extends all the way from the states of Espírito Santo and parts of the states of Rio de Janeiro. Dr. Eduardo Costa is, however, Eduardo Sancho is, however, not capable of participating live because he's just on a journey from Brasilia to Rio. He had another event in Brasilia today, so he has very kindly sent us a video recording so we can listen a little bit and understand what are the environmental sustainability Rotary actions that are one of the 6 axes of dedication that Rotary International is applying worldwide. So I see that we already have his video on top. Please, William, let's play and listen to the video. Thank you.
Boa noite a todos. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês hoje. Sou Eduardo Sancho, dentista, sócio representativo do Rotary Club Nova Friburgo há 35 anos e chairman do Programa de Intercâmbio de Jovens do Distrito 4751 de Rotary Internacional. É uma alegria poder participar deste evento e compartilhar algumas reflexões.
Prezados debatedores e participantes, é um prazer contribuir para o evento e compartilhar um pouco da experiência.
Boa noite a todos. É um prazer estar aqui com vocês hoje. Sou Eduardo Sancho, dentista, sócio representativo do Rotary Club Nova Friburgo há 35 anos e chairman do Programa de Intercâmbio de Jovens do Distrito 4751 de Rotary Internacional. É uma alegria poder participar deste evento e compartilhar algumas reflexões sobre o tema desenvolvimento social e ambiental, com destaque para ações em suporte à saúde de pessoas vulneráveis e projetos de meio ambiente. Quero agradecer ao Dr. Cláudio Fernandes pelo convite e pela oportunidade de falar sobre ações tão importantes que impactam diretamente a saúde e promovem a preservação do meio ambiente. Espero que este conteúdo seja útil e que juntos possamos continuar avançando em iniciativas que gerem impactos positivos para as pessoas e para o planeta. Para criar vínculos internacionais, melhorar a qualidade de vida e construir um mundo mais pacífico, nós, rotarianos, nos dedicamos a diferentes causas. A Fundação Rotária é uma das principais entidades filantrópicas globais focada em causas como saúde, educação, recursos hídricos e solução de conflitos. Uma de suas abordagens mais eficazes é dividir problemas em componentes menores para serem resolvidos de forma sistemática. Isso garante que o impacto seja duradouro e sustentável. Estamos empenhados em apoiar atividades que reforcem a conservação e proteção dos recursos naturais, promovam a sustentabilidade ecológica e fomentem a harmonia entre as comunidades e o meio ambiente. Habilitamos as comunidades às quais servimos, fornecendo subsídios e outros recursos. Apoiamos soluções locais e estimulamos a inovação no sentido de tratar as causas e reduzir os efeitos das mudanças climáticas e da degradação ambiental. O apoio ao meio ambiente é a 7ª área de enfoque do Rotary, as quais são categorias de serviços humanitários apoiadas pelos subsídios globais. O Rotary compartilha do interesse de proteger o bem que temos em comum, o meio ambiente. Mais de 18 milhões em subsídios globais foram destinados a causas ambientais nos últimos 5 anos, por meio dos nossos projetos nas áreas de enfoque, desenvolvimento econômico comunitário e água, saneamento e higiene. A Fundação Rotária capacita nossos associados e suas comunidades a atuarem das seguintes maneiras: protegendo e restaurando recursos terrestres, costeiros, marinhos e de água doce, aumentando a capacidade de comunidade e governos locais apoiarem o gerenciamento e conservação dos recursos naturais, apoiando a agroecologia e práticas sustentáveis de agricultura, pesca e aquicultura para melhorar a saúde ecológica, abordando as causas de mudanças e perturbações climáticas e apoiando soluções para reduzir a emissão de gases do efeito estufa, fortalecendo a resiliência dos ecossistemas e comunidades afetadas pelas mudanças e perturbações climáticas, apoiando a educação para promover comportamentos que protejam o meio ambiente, defendendo o consumo sustentável de produtos e o gerenciamento ambientalmente seguro de subprodutos para construir uma economia mais eficiente em termos de recursos, abordando questões de justiça ambiental e preocupações relacionadas à saúde ambiental pública. Nós, rotarianos, compreendemos a seriedade do impacto das mudanças climáticas e não ficamos à margem dos acontecimentos, quando a situação exige nossa atenção. Enfrentamos os desafios nesta área como de costume, apresentando projetos, utilizando nossas ligações para mudar políticas e planejando para o futuro. Problemas tão complexos como estes devem ser destrinchados antes de qualquer coisa. Ao atacar uma parte do desafio de cada vez, fazemos coisas incríveis, como o suporte da Fundação Rotária. Uma coalizão de pesquisadores e cientistas analisou matematicamente o impacto que possíveis soluções poderiam causar no clima e na economia, de forma a identificar as que produziriam os melhores resultados para os seres humanos e para o planeta. A lista incluía algumas possibilidades surpreendentes, tais como a educação formal de meninas, promoção do planejamento familiar e ajuda a agricultores. Vale ressaltar que as possíveis soluções se alinham às áreas de enfoque do Rotary. Os peritos classificaram as soluções mediante a escala de importância de 1 a 80, tendo por base o seu potencial para evitar ou reduzir as emissões de gases causadores do efeito estufa. Essas classificações foram analisadas junto com projetos de subsídios globais do Rotary para determinar como os rotarianos estão ajudando a combater alterações no clima. Em relação ao planejamento familiar, 214 milhões de mulheres de países de baixa renda querem ter mais controle sobre quando engravidar. O problema é que elas não têm acesso a métodos contraceptivos, o que gera cerca de 74 milhões de gestações involuntárias todos os anos. Dar a elas a assistência médica que querem e precisam reduziria o crescimento populacional, o que, por conseguinte, baixaria as emissões de gases do efeito estufa e beneficiaria muito o planeta. As gestantes entrevistadas por rotarianos na Etiópia disseram que o planejamento familiar era sua maior prioridade, uma declaração ecoada por suas famílias e médicos. Isso fez com que os Rotary Clubs de Finot, na Etiópia, e Darmstadt, na Alemanha, lançassem um projeto de subsídio global para o treinamento de parteiras e assistentes em 3 clínicas sobre planejamento familiar. O pessoal da área médica também realizou aconselhamento em domicílio para 1.500 mulheres e organizou um workshop sobre o assunto para 90 mulheres que estavam sob cuidados obstétricos. A mulher analfabeta geralmente tem 4 ou 5 filhos a mais do que a que frequentou escola por 12 anos. Isto significa que a educação de meninas pode causar um tremendo impacto e evitar uma explosão populacional. Ao passo que as regiões com populações em crescimento são, geralmente, as que têm as menores taxas de emissão de carbono per capita, a redução do índice de fertilidade nestas áreas trará benefícios ainda maiores, não só para o planeta, mas também para o declínio da pobreza intergeracional. Ainda segundo os estudiosos, a educação de meninas é o fator mais importante na redução da vulnerabilidade e desastres naturais, que ocorrem com maior frequência por causa dos eventos climáticos extremos associados a alterações climáticas. Cerca de 90% das mulheres ciganas na Bósnia e Herzegovina são analfabetas e menos de 15% das crianças deste grupo frequentam a escola, deixando-as vulneráveis ao tráfico humano, entre outras coisas negativas. Os Rotary Club de Mostar, na Bósnia e Herzegovina, e Denver, nos Estados Unidos, se uniram a uma organização sem fins lucrativos da Bósnia, num projeto de subsídio global que aconselhou 80 famílias com meninas em situação de risco. A iniciativa contou com 20 estudantes da Universidade da Bósnia, que serviam de mentores, e 15 garotas ciganas da escola local. Os organizadores estimam que pelo menos 1.000 pais, professores e garotas de 20 comunidades aprenderam sobre a importância da igualdade de gênero na educação através de materiais impressos e workshops. Nossa saúde é essencial. No entanto, 400 milhões de pessoas no mundo não conseguem pagar por assistência médica ou não têm acesso a tais cuidados. Acreditamos que saúde é um direito de todos. Nós educamos e equipamos comunidades para cessar a transmissão de doenças, realizando centenas de projetos em todo o mundo. Doenças resultam em miséria e sofrimento para milhões de pessoas no mundo inteiro. É por isso que combatê-la é tão importante para o Rotary. Nós lideramos iniciativas grandes e pequenas nessa área. Criamos clínicas itinerantes, centros de doação de sangue e treinamento para comunidades carentes afetadas por surtos e sem acesso a atendimento médico. Com a infraestrutura que criamos, o trabalho conjunto de médicos, pacientes e governos fica mais fácil. Lutamos contra a malária, o HIV, AIDS, mal de Alzheimer, esclerose múltipla, diabetes, pólio e muitas outras doenças. Como a prevenção é igualmente importante ao tratamento, nós também disseminamos informações sobre saúde e destacamos a importância de exames auditivos, oftalmológicos e odontológicos periodicamente. O Rotary tem um histórico invejável quando se trata de iniciativas na área da saúde. Nossa atuação está levando à erradicação da pólio e os clubes têm realizado inúmeros projetos de prevenção de doenças e apoio à saúde de mães e filhos. O Rotary proporciona assistência médica de alta qualidade a mães e filhos em condições vulneráveis para que possam viver mais e crescer mais fortes. Nós ampliamos o acesso aos cuidados médicos para que mães e filhos tenham a oportunidade de um futuro saudável. Estima-se que 6 milhões de crianças menores de 5 anos morrem anualmente devido à desnutrição, falta de assistência médica e condições precárias de saneamento, problemas que podem ser completamente evitados. Oferecemos educação, vacinas, kits para partos e clínicas móveis. Ensinamos mulheres a evitarem a transmissão do vírus do HIV para seus bebês, amamentarem e protegerem a si e a seus filhos de doenças. Equipamos comunidades para cessar a transmissão de doenças, realizando centenas de projetos em todo o mundo. À medida que a doença desaparece do palco mundial, remanescendo apenas em algumas áreas remotas de 3 países, cabe aos profissionais da saúde de administrar vacinas e compartilhar informações de rápida e precisa. O Rotary e seus parceiros, na iniciativa global de erradicação da polio, estão fortalecendo os canais de comunicação através de doação de celulares para profissionais de saúde no Paquistão, Nigéria e Afeganistão, onde uma simples mensagem de texto pode salvar uma vida. Segundo a Unicef, a taxa de mortalidade infantil do Paquistão está entre as mais altas do mundo, registrando 81 óbitos de menores de 5 anos em cada 1.000 nascidos vivos. Nossos profissionais de saúde, inclusive as parteiras comunitárias, estão monitorando o gestante, diz Ali, quando um bebê nasce, eles registram o nascimento e mantêm um relatório completo, não somente sobre a vacina contra a polio, mas também sobre outras imunizações e cuidados básicos de higiene e saúde. Eles também monitoram outras doenças contagiosas como malária, tuberculose e gripes, desnutrição infantil e enfermidades maternas. Se os problemas forem detectados na saúde das mães ou dos bebês, podemos informar os departamentos de saúde governamentais de imediato, para que os solucionem rapidamente e adaptem suas estratégias. Para transformar o mundo, a Fundação Rotary outorga subsídios para projetos e atividades comunitárias e internacionais. 65 milhões foram outorgados em subsídios pelo Rotary para combater doenças. 99% da redução dos casos de pólio desde que o nosso programa foi criado em 1985. O Rotary possibilita coisas incríveis. Obrigado.
Wow, indeed, incredible. Thank you very much, Dr. Eduardo Sancho, for this very inspiring demonstration of how civil society can do so much by many people in so many places. Very impressive work that Rotary is doing worldwide. With this, I would like also to move into a particular area here of our closure, moving into the direction of our final approach, which is the speech of Father Omar Raposo, rector of Sanctuary, Archdiocesan Sanctuary of Christ the Redeemer. That particular lecture and talk has been a very important part of our discussion, because if we want to reach people, we need to understand that people are reached by many different approaches. And one of them is by faith and by how they integrate their lives into one particular direction that they want to see. However, we are living in worlds of many different matrices of faith and many different good possibilities to engage people in that particular direction. What we see with the partnership that we have been so generously provided by the Christ of the Redeemer Sanctuary is that when you align that with a monument that is globally known, and it's very well respected by how it has approached in so many different areas of mankind. And then we understand that here we have a voice. Here we have a capacity to be heard. and to see and to talk about aspects that are not there every day. So it is with great joy that I address you today in the name of Father Omar Raposo, rector of the Archdiocesan Sanctuary of Christ the Redeemer. He is very sorry for not being able to perform his speech personally, but as some of you may know, Rio de Janeiro today and tomorrow is the head of G20 meetings. Global leaders from 20 nations are meeting today and tomorrow in Rio de Janeiro for several aspects of global importance. And one of the aspects that everyone attends to is exactly what we're talking about. So there are hundreds of different meetings, and Christ the Redeemer Monument is engaged directly into promoting how society can develop in a better and safer way. Nevertheless, he has found the way and the time to give us his words that I will now very proudly read to you, and at the end we'll be able to watch gloriously illumination of one of the most important monuments worldwide. Christ the Redeemer is a global icon of faith, welcome, and hope for millions of people around the world. Father Omar thanks you for the opportunity to participate in this side event of COP29 and to share a little bit about the relevance of the sanctuary in the context of sustainability. With open arms and eyes watching the world, the monument of Christ the Redeemer symbolizes hospitality, peace, and love, universal values that unite us as a society. This watchful gaze represents not only spiritual support, but also our commitment to social and environmental responsibility in a harmonious relationship with the environment and creation. The Archdiocesan Sanctuary of Christ the Redeemer is above all a place of spirituality. Besides daily masses, it hosts weddings, baptisms, and receives many pilgrimages. Christ the Redeemer is a sacred space for meetings and reflections, where thousands of people seek connection and faith. Located in Tijuca National Park, a conservation unit that preserves one of the largest remaining areas of Atlantic forest, the sanctuary is also a cultural heritage listed by the National Institute of Historical and Artistic Heritage, IFAD, here in Brazil, and recognized as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the only Catholic sanctuary with this distinction. Our relationship with the environment and commitment to our common home are grounded in the papal encyclicals Laudato Si, published back in 2015, and Laudato Deum, recently released, both by Pope Francis. These documents are a call to integral ecology and care for creation, themes that resonate deeply with our mission at the Sanctuary of Christ the Redeemer. The Laudato Si Adoration Chapel integrates the sanctuary and represents the commitment of faith to environmental protection and conservation. All work carried out by the institution is guided by the 2030 Agenda and its Sustainable Development Goals. The initiatives of the Christ Sustainable Sector encompass ESG practices, addressing environmental, social, and governance aspects in integrated manner. From responsible resource management to projects in environmental and social education and awareness, we strive to be an active and solidarity-driven presence, taking Christ the Redeemer wherever there is need, acting as support for those who need it most, We aim to inspire everyone to adopt practices that promote preservation and awareness, reflecting on the impact of their action. The lighting of Christ the Redeemer is one of the most powerful ways we have to highlight relevant themes, inspire reflections, and positively impact humanity. Every time we light up the monument in colors representing causes such as health, peace, or the environment, we are opening a dialogue and inviting reflection. This practice is a way to shine light on essential ideas and values, awakening society to urgent causes. Small actions, when combined, can create great transformations. May each of us find ways to light up the world around us, whether through more cautious attitudes or by promoting values that strengthen our society. To conclude, I reiterate our commitment to sustainability and the promotion of a culture of peace and welcome. I invite everyone to join us in lighting Christ the Redeemer, which will now be illuminated in the colors of sustainability triad as a symbol of our commitment to the planet and the future of humanity. The peace of Christ to all. That's the message of Father Omar Raposo to our meeting and to concluding this beautiful session as conducted. So in that regard, I ask our advisor here, William Kitzinger, please to show to our audience the illumination of Christ the Redeemer with the colors of sustainability.
Illuminated today, November 18th, from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Brazilian time, in a symbolic gesture to mark the third global conference on oral health and climate action at the start of the 2024 United Nations Climate Change Conference, COP29. This initiative highlights the urgency of raising awareness about sustainability in the health sector, emphasizing the social and environmental determinants of health.
Please mind you that the colors that were chosen here represent in a very strong way the sustainability triad, with green representing the environment, red representing the social values, and blue representing all the economical values that are needed for social perspectives. And to come to that framework that we discussed earlier before, we only have sustainable action when we really can unite all of them. But it's also a matter, also important to mention, that this combination of colors also represents an important need to describe the need for more aspects related to the WHO needs for more equitable representation of health, particularly the determinants of health. There is a long study that is being prepared, and we see with great joy the use of sustainability practice and determinants of health as integrated parts that will become in one and only visual aspects to promote within society the change we need to see, to stimulate governments, companies, academics, and all sectors of society to move into a sustainable direction. And with those words, I want to thank all the participants that have joined us here today. Thanks particularly the speakers who have dedicated so much time in their preparation and love in sharing their knowledge and their experience. And I also want to thank the audience for staying with us along with those 4 hours of session to participating joyfully and helping us to bridge this gap towards a more sustainable health future. And most of all, and I invite Julian for this closure here, to understand how much work we need to do and how much more close we are of doing that when we engage together into that challenge. So please, Julian, let us hear a bit of your remarks as well as we prepare for the COP30 in 2025.
Hello, Claudio. I'm sorry, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here and I just got a bit chilly, so I put a jumper on. But yes, I mean, congratulations on such a fantastic result, getting the illumination. It is so inspiring to see the fruits of, I know, a lot of hard work on your behalf being projected across Rio. I'd love to have this to be able to take back to people who've been involved in the conference this morning, but also people who've asked me, can we engage in COP30 in Brazil next year? And as you say, I think we've got a really exciting opportunity. We've laid the foundations this year. We've got a lot of energy and interest and momentum building already for COP30 in Brazil. So I'm really looking forward to working with you to start planning that program now, that we can really expand the program and then use the time between now and next year to deliver an amazing program in Brazil. So a huge thank you as my co-moderator, co-organizer and colleague for putting this all together. And I think we're going to have a great conference next year, because I think, as we've been talking about, all those drivers are now coming together, and it's not just oral health and dentistry, but it's across the spectrum. People are suddenly realizing we do have to transform, we do have to innovate. So I think those themes are going to be very, very appropriate and pertinent for next year. So Claudio, a personal thank you for all your energy and time and enthusiasm in working together on this. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Julian. You really motivate all this work with the efforts that you have dedicated for so long and so dearly. We really appreciate this partnership, and we do hope that the joint efforts that we're seeing here today in the Brazilian session, but also earlier from the wonderful content showed hosted by the Pennsylvania University, that will bridge big momentum and move forward into COP25 with bigger content, more engagement, and going further into the direction we want. So for us, goodbye. See you soon.